E there, bud.
What's Murph? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, dude. How you doing?
Doing great. I'm doing fantastic. Sunday night, a weird time for our show, but it's a holiday weekend and it's not a school night for me. So let's get it on.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. We got a lot to talk about. I know you got a day off tomorrow, being that it's President's Day, episode 32. We're gonna have our fun facts and everything. But yeah, man, I'm excited. It seems like something. We do this show once a week now. I mean, it seems like we're away for a while. I don't know. I don't know why it just seems that way. Maybe it's just because it's not baseball season and football season and basketball season at the same time, and we just got less and less to talk about. But no, we're still here, man. Yeah, we're plugging away.
Yeah, I
So
think during uh, I think during baseball season, Rich, we may have to do two shows a week.
oh, definitely, yeah, without a doubt. Remember, I said that last time. I'm going to start we're going to do a Yankee show. We're going to do a Met show.
Yep, exactly. Hey, Ben just joined there. Hi, Ben. How you doing?
Ben,
I
what's
just
up,
saw
dude?
he typed into the chat there. Yeah. So, Rich, we got a lot of stuff to tell listeners of what's going on here. It seems like the MURF and EDUBBS show is going to take its show on the road, basically.
Yeah, you called me. You called me today with some pretty good news that Jay Maeda from Fishkill Rec over there. He contacted you and said he wants us to do a little something with the rec with the basketball program.
Yeah, championship weekend, which is March 18th. There's 1 week left in the regular season before the playoffs start. And I do the statistics for Jay, and a lot of these divisions aren't even locked up yet with 1 week to go. That's how exciting next Saturday and Sunday is going to be amongst these elementary through high school divisions and stuff. So it's really going to be great, and looking forward to it on March 18th.
Yeah, March 18th. That'd be a lot of fun. Now, I told you I had texted Jay earlier, and I said, I want to come by and talk to him because I'm really excited about this, man. I was wondering, I'm hoping, like you said, maybe the play-by-play for the games. I know they have a videographer over there. If we bring our equipment over there, get set up, we can interview like the players, after the games. I'm sure those younger kids would love it. And, and when the nighttime comes around, he said that's when the high school kids are playing. Those games are going to be exciting to watch, man. So maybe we can, hook something up and talk to Jay, get all the kids' names and numbers and stuff. And I don't know, maybe we get some interviews, talk to some parents, and maybe he'll let us have some fun because I got a lot of ideas that I want to talk to him about. And Eric, we could have a lot of fun with this, man. We could be there all day. Better bring a lot of water for our voices. We're going to be talking a whole lot that day. But yeah, man, we should go up there on Tuesday. I'm going to talk to him and I'll let him know what kind of ideas we got.
Yeah, definitely. We have a month to go, and it's great. It's perfect. A lot of ideas between now and then, Rich. I know we he was talking about putting a backdrop down with the with our logo on it and stuff like that. So the possibilities are endless on that, Rich. It's going to be very exciting, and maybe we could take our show to Fishkill Little League come the summertime and do the same thing over there.
I'm hoping, yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely hoping to do that. I mean, that this could be, we could be taking off, because it's not yet a year. We're only doing it 6 months. And listen, by the time we're around a year, we might be, like I said, we might be a local fish kill staple. You know what I mean? That's going to be a lot of fun, man. And
Gary,
listen,
yeah, Gary, Keith, and Ron, look out! We're coming after your jobs.
yeah, man. And I know you have been involved at the with Fishkill Hoops for a long time. Like I wasn't, my kids were involved when they were younger, but my kids, they veered more towards baseball. But we had a lot of fun. And he ran a good program. But they've still got a lot of the same coaches that have been there a while, right? And Jay's been there for years. And like we say all the time on this program, is like they do a really good job over there. And this is gonna be fun, Eric. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, and you got Big Ben on the staff. I mean, he's run a couple of these championship weekends and stuff, so he's been there. He knows what it's like. The award ceremonies, the MVP ceremonies, the best players in the league ceremony. It's really cool, Rich. It's a really cool system they put up there. The pomp and circumstance, announcing the kids before the game and the national anthem. It's really cool what Jay does over there, and I just want to thank him for getting this idea out to us. And yeah, he threw the cast, and we bit like the fish, So we're in, right, Rich?
Yeah, exactly. And listen, I was just thinking before about a couple of things. I have something I want to discuss with your son. A segment when baseball season starts.
hmm
I think I got something that might be perfect for him. And if he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't do it. But I'm going to talk to him off air about this. But I think it'll be pretty fun, Ben. Like, and maybe at the end of the show, or maybe tomorrow, or something. Maybe the three of us will talk. I got a pretty funny idea for us to do when baseball season starts.
Sounds good, and that's right around the corner, Rich. 5 weeks till opening day, I think, right?
Yeah, five weeks till opening day. God, yeah, pitches and catches. It's nice to see, Verlander and Scherzer walking in. And, it means that, like I said, baseball is right around the corner. But today, now listen, you said something to me before, like you said, maybe I want to do something. You said you like President's Day trivia. Now I'm into all that stuff. I may not be able to answer your questions, but I like to learn about that stuff. I'm psyched for that. I'm sorry I jumped right to that, dude, but I know you're pretty good with the trivia and stuff like that. And why don't you enlighten us on some of the presidential trivia that you came up with today for President's Weekend, dude? Because I'm into that stuff.
Okay, but first things first, Rich, I want to talk tonight is Shamrock Shake. The Shamrock Shakes go on sale tomorrow at McDonald's. I'm not a big McDonald's guy, but I make my once-a-year pilgrimage to get this Shamrock Shake, and hopefully the ice cream machine's working, because a couple of years ago, I went to 3 McDonald's in the areas. It was like the last day they were available. Ice cream machine's broken, ice cream machine's broken, ice cream machine's broken. Now, in my understanding, I don't think the ice cream machine's broken, Rich. I think the kids behind the counter don't want to make it because it takes some work. It's not like a hamburger in a wrapper where they give you in a bag. It takes some work to make the Shamrock Shake. It's handcrafted. So I just think the kids would not rather do it than it's easier to say than the machine's broken. So hopefully the machines are working tomorrow. It's going on sale tomorrow. I'm off from work, so I'm looking forward to it. Also, Rich, I just want to put out there's a podcast called Lost Baseball. Lost Ballpark, and they give a lot of the ballparks. I listened to it on the way home from my mom's house. Had a great time with my mom this weekend. Had some food, and yes, I am a food snob. I must say it, because I grew up in areas of zip codes where the food was absolutely outrageous, delicious. Food you can't get anywhere else. And that bowl of wonton soup I posted on Facebook the other day with all that stuff in it, that is authentic wonton soup. That is freaking Brooklyn, Chinatown wonton soup, not the stuff you get up here. And you know what? It was the same price too. So that's real food. So yeah, I am a food snob. I take my food seriously. I take my pizza seriously. But getting back to the guest, Rich, there was a guy, his name is Roy Face. You ever hear of Roy Face before, Rich? Baseball player?
No, I haven't. And I'm assuming that this podcast you're talking about, I didn't really get a chance to look it up. It seems interesting, but when you say lost ballparks, it's kind of obviously ballparks that aren't there anymore. Ballparks that maybe have once been big ballparks, or what do they discuss? Like, they're not talking. Are they talking about Shea Stadium? Or what kind of stuff are they talking about on this podcast?
They were talking about the Polo Grounds where the Mets started their roots. But yeah, there was some Shea Stadium talk, old Yankee Stadium and stuff like that. But you know what, though? This gentleman, Roy Face, he was 18-1 for the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1959. He won the World Series with them in 1960 when he beat the Yankees. Actually, the 18-1 season, he carried over to the next year. He won 22 games in a row as a relief pitcher, Rich. He was one of the first guys to get 20 saves in a season and stuff. But I think the main thing, listen to these, too, with Carl Erskine, Brooklyn Dodger. He's 95. This guy Roy Face turns 95 tomorrow. He's the oldest living Montreal Expo, 95 years old tomorrow. He pitched for them at 41 years old in 1969 when they first came to the league. But I think the main thing when you listen to these, Rich, when we look at baseball highlights from the 50s and 40s and back, even some from the 60s, what do we see, Rich? We see black and white, right? So yeah. What do you think these players saw? These players saw black and white. These players walked into the stadium for the first time, and they actually saw color. They saw grass that is greener than I can't describe the green, like a shamrock almost, like a shamrock shake. But they saw the billboards, stuff that we don't see. When we see these highlights, Rich, we see black and white. And it was a black and white era. Everything was in black and white back then. But to hear these guys' stories walking through the concourse, seeing a baseball field for the first time, it just took my breath away, Rich, listening to these podcasts. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you said it, because my son brought that up to me the other day, talking about because we watched clips of something. I forgot what it was, but anyway, it was a black and white clip, and he said, "Dad, we're watching this in black and white, but the people that are there right now are seeing the colors. They're seeing the grass. They're seeing the colors of the uniforms. They're seeing the colors of people's eyes." It's kind of like you said, it kind of gets lost. Wow, you just think everything was black and white back then. But, it must have been, a long time ago, like you said, to see that grass. And he also said that a lot of these old stadiums, they were very cold and very, made of concrete blocks, and, but they were wide open. And I think that maybe that's kind of, I like the old style type of stadiums where they're wide open like that. But they also had that cold feel, with the concrete blocks. And some of the old college stadiums, I think, still have that kind of feel. But you're right, and there's very few baseball stadiums left right now, Eric. I'd probably name only few. Probably, I'd have to say Boston and Chicago are really the only two that have some serious ghosts left in those buildings. Is there anything else that you could think of?
Dodger Stadium's pretty old too. When Ben and I went this past summer, Yeah, you could feel like a lot of the ghosts and stuff there and stuff. But you know what though, they're dying out these ballparks, Rich. All these new ballparks now. I mean, they're trying to replicate. I mean, I do love City Field the way they replicated Ebbets Field. But you know what though, I remember my dad telling me stories about Ebbets Field, and you'll just never get that feel again. Like even the Polo Grounds, like the Polo Grounds were so short down the lines, but in center field it was like over 550 feet because they had that opening out there and stuff like that. And this guy on the Pirates, when he was talking about he was talking Roy Face when he played in Pittsburgh. They used to take the batting cage after batting practice. A tractor would take the batting cage and it would leave it in center field because it was so far away. Nobody was going to hit the ball that far. So it's kind of all these nooks and crannies of these old ballparks and stuff. It's pretty wild. But it's called the Lost Ballpark, and they have umpires too. And I heard a story about one of the umpires who, he was they were taking the subway to Yankee Stadium, and they would wear suits. They have to wear suits back in the day. So can you imagine 11 o'clock after a Yankee game seeing four guys with suits coming back to Manhattan? I mean, you got to know they're umpires, right?
Well, yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, this today, like when you look at the ballparks, like today, I mean, they've been trying, I guess, a little bit of a switcheroo on how the ballparks are run. Like we were just talking about the old ballparks and how they used to really, they really used to, focus on like the game being played on the field. At some point in the last maybe like 15 years, 20 years, they've kind of built these ballparks around having fun. You know what I mean? All the restaurants and all the top name chefs and the bars and the excitement and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you think that kind of what's going on with the baseball fields, and baseball fields in particular, because that's kind of a sport, that people that are there to see a game are really there to watch the game and they really take it in. They like the pace of it. But do you think that the fact that they brought a lot of these stadiums in that was kind of like an amusement park feel, do you think it brought more fans to the game, or do you think it kind of kept fans away? And do you think that a lot of these, when you see on TV, do you think the fans are there? They're just not watching the game when it comes to like, the amusement park atmosphere in some of these ballparks?
Yeah, definitely. I think they make it look like Disneyland. Some of these ballparks and stuff. With the rides and stuff. Tiger Stadium has some rides, a Ferris wheel, whatever. But I think it does keep the fans away, or at least out of their seats, because some of these games they actually sell all the tickets, but like where are the fans? The fans are eating in restaurants. You don't even see where they're eating basically and stuff. So I think this year's going to be a lot different, Rich, because and we'll get into it as we progress over the next couple of weeks. The rules changes with the clocks and stuff, and I know it's affecting college baseball already, because I've seen some guys trying to get called timeouts and the umpires aren't granting timeouts and the pitchers are throwing the ball by them. And there was another guy who didn't get in the batter's box in time. He got called out. So it's going to be quite a learning curve for the baseball players this year. It's already affecting the college guys with these highlights, because the college baseball season started the past week or so. But yeah, I think you're right, Rich. It's more of like a entertainment minor league type atmosphere. They're trying to create these games. But I kind of like to sit in my seat, Rich, because if I'm going to pay $80, $90 for a ticket, I want to watch the game. I don't want to be walking around and missing 3 innings. And plus, in baseball, when you walk around, what do? You miss the only home run sometimes in a game, right? So better off to be in the seat.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because when I went to the playoffs this year with San Diego and the Mets, and I went with Aiden, he's my go-to Mets guy, diehard Mets fan. Kid never leaves his seat ever. He will hold you in. It doesn't even matter. He just watches every single pitch. And we had some really, really good seats that were given us by a very dear friend of mine, and they were good seats. And he was thirsty. He's like, you know what, Dad? I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk away and I'm going to get a drink real quick. The second he walked away, Manny Machado hit that home run to center field, and it literally went right over our heads.
Yeah,
and I understand that the San Diego and the Mets did win that game. That was the Jacob deGrom game that they won. But Manny Machado hit that home run. Literally, it was like 5 feet over our heads where we were sitting. And see, every time he walks, like, see that? I walk away once and something happens. But, it wasn't a Met that hit the home run. But you know what, though? I think, just talking about, like, sitting down and watching the game. And they're talking about, like you said, shortening the game. And I guess maybe you have to come to some kind of happy medium with shortening the game and not making it so long because of different attention spans this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't take away too much of it. I do enjoy the pace of it. I do enjoy the mind games that are involved. But I also do think that there's too much with the batters sometimes fixing their gloves and fixing their body armor and kind of talking to the catcher about what he had for dinner the night before. You know what I mean? I think there is a little too much of that, but I think that the umpires are going to start getting really strict, and then they're going to kind of find a happy medium with it. But if they want to make little changes to it with the pace, I'll be all right with that. But don't slowly try and change the game completely. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do, Rich. And I saw, we'll talk baseball, but, the reaction with the four-team divisions and having the Mets and Yankees in the same division and no more American League versus National League, kind of like, I don't know. I just don't, that doesn't do anything for me, I don't think. I don't know.
It does nothing. Listen, it does nothing for me either because how I love, you know what? Listen, the Rangers and the Islanders, it's a staple. They're in the same division. The Flyers, they've all been in the same division. Like they've been rivals for years and years and years and years. It's just what it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? It's just like they'll never meet in the Stanley Cup, but you know what? They'll meet in the championship game. But I like the fact that baseball has it set up where New York can play each other in the World Series. I don't want to be in a division. First, and look at the teams they're looking to put in that division too. The National League would just slaughter everybody. That it wouldn't even be close. So when I think that I don't want the Mets and the Yankees in the same division, not because I'm afraid of the Yankees or not because I'm afraid of this. No, because I still want that fact that there's going to be a World Series and we're going to play against the other New York team to find out who is the best in the world. And that's how I like it like that much better.
Yeah, there would never be a Subway series, never be a Chicago series, never be a freeway series in LA if this happens. So hopefully it does not happen and stuff. But Rich, I want to get into President's Day trivia if you don't mind. I got a couple of questions I wrote down, so let me give you a couple and maybe you can answer some of these. Okay?
Go ahead, man. Let me see. Let me test my trivia.
Okay, there's 4 states with capitals named after presidents. Can you name any?
There's for Lincoln. Is it Jackson?
That's 2.
Lincoln, Jackson. Give me another maybe 5 seconds. Jesus Christ. Adams?
Nope.
Oh, all right, go ahead. I'm done now. What's the other stuff?
Yeah, so you had Lincoln, Nebraska, and Jackson, Mississippi, which you got. Yep. Then you have Madison, Wisconsin, and Jefferson City, Missouri. Those are the other 2. So look at that, huh?
That's a good one. I like that. I like that stuff.
Okay, here we go. I got another one, Rich. Other than the $10 bill, what common U.S. currency note does not have a picture of a president on it?
The $20 bill.
Nope.
No, it's the 100. What's wrong
with
Franklin?
Yes, Benjamin Franklin. Yep, and it's like Ben would always tell my son, "Hey, Dad, give me a Benjamin." So I said I should have named you George. A lot cheaper.
I knew it was one of those that had Ben Franklin on it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, here's another one, Rich. Last president to serve in combat during a war.
Bush.
You got it, Rich. You're doing well. You're doing well on these. Here's a tricky one. Only president to win a race, but lost the next election. And then he came back and won the following election after that. So lost one.
No,
who?
Reagan.
No.
Who?
Grover Cleveland was the last president to do that. And the last question which I had on... What's that?
I think he was also the fattest president too, right?
And another question which I had on Facebook the other day. Cousin Joe swiped right in a minute after up, or somebody got it a minute I put it up. 4 presidents born in February. We know 2 of them, of course, right? Because that's what tomorrow signifies.
Yeah.
So
Obama and Trump.
No. Wrong.
No,
Washington, William Harrison, and Ronald Reagan were the 4 presidents to be born in the month of February, which we celebrate tomorrow, President's Day. So we're going to get into more William Harrison in a bit. I have the number 32, and I'd like to give my 32 stuff. And the first thing I'm starting with, Rich, being it's President's Day, is the 32nd president was Franklin Roosevelt, elected in 1932, nonetheless. He was elected for 4 terms, and he would have been possibly more if he did not die in 1945. After he passed the maximum 2 terms, after he died, I should say, the maximum 2 terms per candidate was ingrained into the U.S. Constitution. He was known as the president during the Great Depression. FDR focused on economic reforms. Industry and farming were his focus. He called for the National Recovery Administration. And during this period, probation ended on alcohol. So thank you. He opened the bars, no more speakeasies. He's also the first president to address the nation on TV. TV wasn't big back then, but he was the first to do that. The first president to win 2 landslide elections, too. 2 of the 4 were landslides. he oversaw passing, and here's one for you, Rich, being you worked in a union. He oversaw the passing of the NLRA, the National Labor Relations Act. Also, he first president to fly in an aircraft to his nomination, and you're saying, like, what's so big about that? Well, it wasn't the safest way to travel in the 1930s, that's for sure. He was the first active president to fly out of the United States during wartime. He was a fan of hot dogs, fish chowder, scrambled eggs, grilled cheese, and fruitcake. And because his medical issues showed his frailty, he died in 1945 following the stress of the election and the end of World War II. So that's FDR, number 32.
You know what's funny about that, though? You know what's funny?
Yes.
Talking about the presidents for a second. Like this day and age, like we see our presidents like if they're frail. Like
Yeah.
we see our presidents if they're strong. We see them for all their their inconsistencies, and we see them for all their personalities.
Right.
Like back then, if you were these presidents did not want to see the president weak or sick.
Yeah.
Or I think it was Roosevelt who had the they didn't want to see that he couldn't walk. Was it?
Yeah, he was confined to a wheelchair, Rich. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yep.
But saying one of the tunnels down underneath Grand Central there was one of the tunnels that we used for a special train thing. He didn't want the people to see that he couldn't walk.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
And also,
yeah, I know.
Listen, when you think about FDR, I know the whole term limits thing and stuff comes up, but you got to think about a guy who it didn't matter like what was going on, like whatever the temperature of the country was. The guy was president during a very volatile time in our history, and they said, you know what, this guy just has to continue to be president. You know what I mean? It's like we can't be switching, no matter if you were behind him or not. You know what I mean? It's like the guy. It was a very volatile time, and you know what? Switching presidents at that time would not have been the right thing. I understand, obviously, the elections and stuff, but it was the right decision to have him go into that third term, and and that just goes to show, like, where the politicians were back then. Politicians were men back then. They really were. They don't just act like men on TV by yelling and screaming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Presidents were men back then, dude.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They're real men, back then and stuff. And no doubt, different times. And it kind of makes me wonder if FDR was healthy enough to serve that fourth term. Wonder if he would have gone for a fifth term, because the rule didn't come out until after he died, basically. So. Kind of interesting, right? 32nd state to join the Union, Rich. Minnesota became a state in 1858. The 12th largest state, nicknamed the land of 10,000 lakes, but it might have 14,000 lakes. It was the home to Bob Dylan, Judy Garland, Hubert Humphrey, Charles Lindbergh Jr., Walter Mondale, Prince, Lindsey Vonn, the skier, and of course, Dave Winfield from Minnesota. What do you
think the state of Minnesota thinks about when they think about what their history is, when they think about some of their people that they put in power? They had Jesse Ventura there as governor one year, and now they have this woman up there that hates America as a senator over there. And then they have their politicians talking about why the roads are so screwed up in Minnesota because it was, they were built by Chinese people back in the day. Like, what do you think's going on? That state of Minnesota is crazy. They don't know what they want. Either they want Jesse Ventura yelling and screaming, talking to Alex Jones about conspiracy theories, or they want some lunatic woman in their Senate who hates America. I don't know. Minnesota's a crazy place, dude. 32nd state? Wow. They got a lot going on over there.
Yeah, you know what though, Rich? Minnesota was settled way before it became a state. They found like bones there going back to like the 7,000 BC, basically. So a lot of Europeans settled in Minnesota, like the Nords and stuff. Like Ben and I went to the Minnesota Syracuse football game at Yankee Stadium, the College Bowl, the Pinstripe Bowl, and the accents on these people from Minnesota, it's kind of weird. It's almost kind of like a European type thing the way they talk, kind of weird, but. Yeah, Minnesota's. I've never been to Minnesota. You ever go to Minnesota, Rich? One of the states I haven't been to yet, but I'll have to be sure to go.
I've never been to Minnesota. I mean, do you think the guys in Green Bay and Chicago think the guys in Minnesota and Detroit are pussies because of the fact that they play in domes?
Well, Minnesota, when the Metrodome closed, they played at the University of Minnesota a few years before they built this new ballpark. And I remember one time it was like snowing like crazy. I said, "This is like real Minnesota weather." It's like the day that Chicago goes to a dome, Rich, is the day that they become pussies too. I guess, right?
Green Bay too. They would never go.
No, never. So, but
they would burn that place down because they own the team. The fans would burn that place down if they ever said they were putting a dome on top of Lambeau.
Yeah, exactly. Getting back to number 32, Rich, water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, like we know. The atomic number 32 is germanium, mostly used in electronic devices. There are 32 teams in the NFL and the NHL, where the NBA and MLB still have 30. The FIFA World Cup has 32 teams. There's your soccer quote for tonight. The international code for calling Belgium is number 32. And here's more president. The ninth president, like I said before, William Harrison, died 32 days into his presidency. He gave one of the longest inaugural speeches without a coat or a hat, despite the inclement weather in Washington. He developed pneumonia and died 32 days later, basically. John Tyler resumed as president and was nicknamed His Excellency, meaning you'll never see him on Mount Rushmore. He was one of the worst presidents ever, John Tyler, basically. So that is the facts about number 32. And now let's go to
who'd you say was one of the worst presidents ever?
John Tyler. He took over for William Harrison 32 days into his presidency. Yeah.
Well,
so
you know what's crazy too. You're talking about presidents. One of the very, very nice man was put in a position that that he probably couldn't have handled. Probably one of the worst presidents ever. One of the nicest men ever was just put into hospice today. Jimmy Carter, you saw that?
yeah, I did see that. Rich, 98 years old, oldest living. Man. Yeah.
Situation when he became president, dude. He really was like, I think he was put in a bad situation back then. He couldn't handle the temperature of the United States at that time. But he's sick, man. And I really do think like he's like one of the last of those left-sided Democrats that really, really, really cared like about people. You know what I'm saying? I hate to bring politics in and out, but
no.
People that die. But Jimmy Carter, I think, was one of the last bastions of that really left-side liberal, agenda type people. That's called an agenda. And I'm sorry, Tim. Yes, we're not talking about that no more. On to sports talk. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, Tim.
But I was going to work. Rich, I had that as the trivia, the oldest president living, and then I saw the news this morning, so I said I got to take that off and stuff. So that's that. Moving on, Rich. Famous number 32s. Who's your top of the list?
All right, now listen. There's a lot of famous number 32s here that I got on these lists. I mean, you can just, I don't know. What do you think? Magic Johnson.
That's my one. That's my one.
No, listen, you got a lot of them, but when you're thinking about these guys that wore these numbers, they're like some of the best. You go down the list a little bit more, like because we know your usual suspects. You got O.J. Simpson, you got those guys. Steve Carlton was a little down on the list.
Yeah, so I got a couple before that, Rich. I got Jim Brown.
Of course. No, I'm just talking about the usual suspects. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah. But listen to these guys. I had the top three, and there's a correlation between these top three. So let me give you the names. I got Magic Johnson, regarded as the best point guard of all time, 13-year career, 17,000 points, 6,500 rebounds, 10,000 assists, and 5 championship rings. I got Jim Brown, right? Jim Brown only won 1 championship with the Browns. We know the Browns' misfortunes, but 12,000 yards, 106 touchdowns, 5.2 yards per carry, considered one of the best running backs, and maybe the best NFL player of all time, Rich.
Yeah, it's amazing. And what about what about Shaq? Shaq
was
number 32.
Right. Well, I got one more guy in these three, and then I want you
to. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I got Sandy Koufax, 11-year career, 165 and 87, 276 ERA, 2,400 strikeouts. He won 4 championships, 4 no-hitters, 1 perfect game. He never pitched a game in the minors, Rich. The first half of his career, listen to this. He was 36 and 40 with a 4.10 ERA. The first half of his career. He made the adjustments after the 1961. Maybe playing in Dodger Stadium, which was pretty spacious for a pitcher. Maybe that's what did it. But he was beneficial for that move, and he retired at 30. So look at these 3 guys. What do these 3 guys have in common, Rich?
Before I answer that question, you may know the answer to this question. What year did they raise the mound in baseball?
I think it was 69, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm just wondering, because you know what, you bring up a guy who's like a weird guy, Sandy Koufax. Sandy Koufax, like you said, went from having that year, but then he went from going to 5 or 6 years of the most incredible baseball, anybody's ever seen. You know what I mean? In 5 or 6 years. I wonder if if that had anything to do with it, or what the year was. You know what I mean? I was just spitballing. I was wondering what it was all about, because he literally went from being a pitcher to being like one of the great, probably top 2 greatest of all time.
Exactly. So I have 3 guys, right? Magic Johnson, Jim Brown, Sandy Koufax. What did they 3 have? What did 3 of those guys have in common?
What do they have in common? I don't know, dude.
They only played on one team in their career. Look at that.
Oh my God, get out of here.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
You want to hear something? I want to read something to you. Like, talking into the passion of those baseball players back then. I want to tell you something. I read something today on Facebook. I don't know if you read it. I hope it's true. Dusty Baker was talking to Hank Aaron when Dusty Baker had his first at bat up against Bob Gibson.
Mm.
So he's talking about this, and this is Dusty Baker. He says, Hank Aaron told me, he says, don't dig in against Bob Gibson. He'll knock you down. He'll knock you down. He'll knock down his own grandmother if she dared challenge him. Don't stare at him. Don't smile at him. Don't talk to him. He doesn't like it. If you happen to hit a home run, don't run too slow. Don't run too fast. If you happen to want to celebrate, get in the tunnel first. And if he hits you, don't charge the mound because he's a Golden Glove boxer. And I was like, damn. What about my 17-game hitting streak? That was the night my 17-game hitting streak ended. Dusty Baker on Bob Gibson. It's pretty funny.
Wow, that's amazing. And Bob Gibson, too, had one of the most famous catchers catch him, and his name is Tim McCarver. May he rest in peace. We'll talk about Tim McCarver later and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of... What's that? I'm sorry?
I thought that was a good segue.
Yeah, but I want to get back to the number 32 and stuff. Like you said, Shaquille O'Neal, right? I got Dr. J. We're number 32. Probably the best dunker of all time, as we might agree, How about Karl Malone, Rich? Another number 32.
And then, Karl Malone. And there's two people on this list that have something in common.
Oh.
Like your three. I have another two guys on this list that have something in common. You know who else? O.J. Simpson wore the number 32. You know who else did? Marcus Allen.
Oh, yes. That's right. Well,
listen, it was his name. It was the guy driving the Bronco, O.J. Simpson and Marcus Allen. Those guys were boys.
Was it Marcus Allen? It was somebody else, Rich. I don't think it was Marcus Allen.
Oh, Marcus Allen was friends with him. Yes, he was.
They were good friends. Oh, boy. But you know what, though? All kidding aside, O.J. Simpson's the only player to have rushed for 2,000 yards in a 14-game season.
He's also one of the many legendary football players that got traded to the Jets, played 1 year, and was like, he was crippled when they signed him.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said before, you said Steve Carlton wore number 32, Rich. And once again, another teammate of Tim McCarver. And when Tim McCarver was interviewed a couple of years ago, Tim McCarver said that him and Steve Carlton should be buried 60 feet, 6 inches from each other, basically, because he was the personal catcher. But, more Tim McCarver later. Other number 32s, one of your guys, Kevin McHale.
Yes, Kevin McHale. I got Kevin McHale, one of my guys. And I got somebody on my list too that I really a lot of people think that he
Franco Harris. We got Franco Harris.
Yeah. Roy Halladay. Roy Halladay was 30. I love Roy Halladay. Roy Halladay gets kind of a bad rap, I think, because of the fact of how he died. But Roy Halladay, super duper amazing pitcher, number 32.
Yep.
He like I said, he gets a bad rap because of the drugs that were found in his system. But you got to really look at that guy's life and see what he was going through. I don't know, but he wore the number 32 as well.
How about El Presidente, Dennis Martinez, wore number 32?
Martinez, yes, threw a perfect game for the Montreal Expo.
Yeah. Kind of have the, I wonder if that 95-year-old Montreal Expo watched him do that, right? That I said before. But one more, Rich. I know we have a couple of hockey fans out there that listen. Jonathan Quick, 2-time Stanley Cup champion goalie with the Los Angeles Kings, his 15-year career, still active. So there's your hockey number 32. Like we said, number 31 is usually goalies. Number 32 is usually goalies. So we got that one hockey guy in and stuff. So I don't know. I see my friend Alan is out there listening. So I don't know if any soccer players wore number 32 that he wants to get into or anything like that. But type it in, Alan. I know Alan and Tim, both Steeler fans, they both said Franco Harris. And we all know Franco passed away 2 days before the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. So
listen, Alan. We only talk soccer 3 weeks every 4 years, and other than that, you missed the boat. We're not talking soccer anymore. Sorry.
You know what, Rich? It was kind of lonely Sunday today. NFL was over with, but what did you think about the Super Bowl? I thought it was a great game, and you said where'd you watch it, Rich? The Super Bowl.
I watched the Super Bowl this year. Before the story, I just want to mention one more thing, dude. Before we head on to our the sports and stuff, we're going to be doing that guy David Prince reached out to me from the baseball card store over there, and he wants to do an interview with us, dude. And I think we're going to get something going. We're going to talk to him. He's got a lot of Celtics memorabilia. He's got a lot he's got a lot of baseball, football memorabilia. I was talking to him a couple weeks ago, and he said he was, away on some kind of baseball card tour, or whatever it is those guys do. But he reached out to me. He said he wants to do an interview maybe at the end of this week sometime, if he, he's willing to sit down with us as long as, as long as we want. So we're going to get something on board with him too. So
great. Yeah. And our, play-by-play at the Fishkill Rec once again, March 18th, the MURF and EDUBBS show at Fishkill Rec doing Championship Saturday. So hopefully our listeners tune in for that. And a lot of people in the community that have kids playing in the league will want to listen too, because they might hear their sons or daughters interviewed on our MURF and EDUBBS show that day, March 18th. So mark it down on your calendars, everyone. That's streaming.
Exactly.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so yes, you just mentioned the Super Bowl. Now the Super Bowl, this is probably going to be in the first years I'm going to actually remember where I was sitting when I watched the Super Bowl. I'm usually at my house, at a party with my family or whatever. But the only reason I'm telling the story is because, my parents are doing a little bit better now. But the day of Super Bowl Sunday, my mother's at my house. My mother and father have been, in and out of the hospital recently. The only reason why I'm telling you guys this is because everything's all working out. They're feeling much better. But, there was 2 weeks there where, me and my sisters, were back and forth, checking up on, make sure they were okay, and stuff. But my mother was at my house on Super Bowl Sunday, and we had to take her to the emergency room on Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh, wow.
In my head, my mother's not feeling well. I'm like, oh my God, my mother's not feeling well. What's going on? So I'm rushing it. Yeah, we get to the emergency room. So needless to say, we're in the emergency room, and the Super Bowl's on. So I watched the Super Bowl sitting next to my mother while she was in the emergency room bed, sitting next to her, holding my mother's hand while I watched the Super Bowl, and as she was asking questions here and there when we wake up. But I asked her yesterday, I said, talk about, she wanted to know, who won the Super Bowl. And I said, Mom, we watched it together. I was like, who won the Super Bowl? She has no recollection of watching the Super Bowl with me
wow.
while she was in the emergency room. But I'll never forget. But you know what, though? Mom, Dad, you guys are doing a lot better. And I think they're actually listening right now. So they're doing a lot better now. So, hopefully they're going to be on the mend. So, yeah, I'm never going to forget where I watched this last Super Bowl. It was a really good game, too. Watched every second.
Yeah, great game, except for the field conditions. They were bad. I mean, the NFL wanted to make the field look pretty, but it wasn't a good experiment because the guys were falling all over the place, and thank God nobody really got hurt or anything on that,
Yeah. Do you think that, like, with that being said, I was going to ask you about that. Do you think that really, do you think that affected either one of the play on the field on either team, or do you think it was equally hurting both teams?
No, it's equal, Rich. You really can't give an advantage or a disadvantage on what's going on. But I know the holding call at the end. I mean, the referees have to call it like they've called the game and stuff. But the Eagles took it. The Eagles didn't really complain. Coaching staff, players, they knew. Bradbury knew that he held the guy and stuff. But if you're gonna call it, you got to call the whole game like it called. And you know what, Rich, about the Super Bowl? I don't know if anybody's known it out there or listening or they've talked about it. There was not one personal foul in this game. No roughing. This was like a cleanly played Super Bowl. If right, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, what it was. It did seem that there was some. They were playing the game. They were hitting hard. But you're right. There did seem to be a mutual respect for each other's offense and defense. On both sides of the ball, because you're going against a team that's the most high-powered offense. With the best football player on the planet going against the top defense, who nobody's had 80 sacks as a defense. Since the 1984-85 Bears, like that Philadelphia defense was on Mahomes in that first half. And it was a mutually respected game with both offenses and defense. Like, yo, this is going to be a game and we're going to come and play. So I think there was definitely a mutual respect there. I think you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, and you got to give kudos. I mean, Mahomes won the MVP. He's got to buy each one of those offensive linemen a Porsche or a Tesla this offseason. I mean, that offensive line played great. I mean, I was talking about the offensive line when they played the Buccaneers a couple of years ago, how the Buccaneers took advantage, but the Chiefs definitely made adjustments, and they really had 2 years to do it. They really put a good offensive line out there, and Philadelphia had no sacks in the game. They couldn't even get to Mahomes once. And, that second half, Rich, you're looking at the Chiefs. They had no turnovers. No penalties, no sacks allowed. Mahomes only missed like one pass in the second half. It was like the most perfect, no punts. It was the most perfect second half. And the only pass that he missed on was a pass that he threw away. I guess he was getting chased out of the pocket. He just threw it away. That was the only negativity of the Chiefs' second half. It was like a total domination for the Eagles to stay in that game. And you got to give. I mean, Jalen Hurts. You got to give hats off to him. I mean, I'm going to take Jalen Hurts for. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm taking Jalen Hurts in my fantasy football league next year because I think Jalen Hurts is one of the budding in the league. The way he played in this game on the national stage, and I put a teaser out on, you know how you do the Instagram stories, Rich. I put Octopus, Octopus's Garden by the Beatles on that, and I put a picture of Jalen Hurts and an octopus. You know what that means?
No, what does that mean?
Okay, so the octopus, Jalen Hurts scored a touchdown, and then he took the 2-point conversion, and so 8 points scored. So that's the octopus play. So he did one of those plays with 5:15 left to tie the game up, and we know that the Chiefs got the winning field goal to win it. But Hurts, he threw for 304 yards, 70 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns he scored. The fumble definitely hurt because the Chiefs scored on that play, but Jalen and the beneficiaries, Devontae Smith and AJ Brown had great games, but Jalen Hurts did everything he could to keep the Eagles in that game.
Yeah, I mean, I've loved Devontae Smith for the longest time, ever since he was at Alabama. I've always been watching him. I was going to say, I wanted the year, I think they got Darnold that year or something. I would have wanted them to get Devontae Smith, but whatever, we'll talk about the Jets in a little while. But yeah, man, I mean, Jalen Hurts did everything he could to win that game, and I think you saw the difference in the two quarterbacks at that time. But listen, you hear me talk about Pat Mahomes all the time, and Pat Mahomes is the new Tom Brady in my eyes. Like, as far as how I talk to these guys and how much I love watching them play the game, because I just think that it comes down to Pat Mahomes has a different gear than other guys, dude. He just does. Like, he has that. I mean, he has that instinct. He has an instinct that a lot of guys don't have. He has the instinct that a lot of the great ones have. Like, even like a lot of the great ones back in the day that didn't have the strongest arms but used with their legs, or they had their instinctual factor of how they play the football game. And they just at the end of that game, they showed a picture of Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, and it's like you sit there and it's like it's almost like you're looking at Belichick and Brady. I mean, because those are two guys that, when those guys are coming out of college, I mean, you could be the greatest college, athlete / football player, on the planet. You could get the Heisman Trophy. We've all seen a lot of quarterbacks in the past get the Heisman Trophy and fall flat on their face when they got to the NFL. Once you get to the NFL, like once you get to anywhere, it takes a different level to get and play against men who are getting paid a lot of money to kill you. And you're also, and like you just mentioned about the offensive line, Pat Mahomes' offensive line, that he needs to buy them all portions. Why do you think that these guys protect this guy? Because he is that guy. He is the guy that takes care of his offensive lineman. He is that guy. He is that 24-year-old kid that's telling these big, over 350-pound guys that, listen, just protect me, and I'm going to win you guys 5 Super Bowls. He's already got 2. I just think that he's the difference between winning that Super Bowl and not. Jalen Hurts, unbelievable athlete. But I think when you look at Pat Mahomes, he's got that leader factor. He's got that look in my eyes, I'm going to win it no matter what. He's got that instinct that I've never seen. I never have. And how is Travis Kelce open all the time, dude? Like, literally, when he completes a ball to Travis Kelce, he's wide open. Like, how is he always wide open, dude?
Yeah, it's kind of like Gronk, too. Gronk was always wide open with Brady. It's funny. This was their 14th touchdown in the postseason last Sunday. They're just one behind Gronk and Brady. But, he's always open. But, Rich, this is a team effort. I mean, they lost Tyreek Hill, and Pat Mahomes said, you know what? I don't give a damn. We're going to win this Super Bowl, basically, And look what they did, right? Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, again, because you look at a guy like Jalen Hurts. Now, if Jalen Hurts has a lot of rushing yards, he's on a team where he's got 2 top-notch wide receivers. Now, what that tells me is a guy like Lamar Jackson. I think he's more like a Lamar Jackson type. The only reason why I'm saying that is because he's got 2 top-notch wide receivers, and he's running all over the place still. He's still got that, young instinct to maybe run first before he looks at, Brown and Smith and see if they're open. I mean, Zach Ertz left, but he would have been perfect for him. If Zach Ertz is probably, forgetting about that decision now because, where he is now. But I think just like the difference is, I think you pick up Pat Mahomes and you drop him into an offense, he's going to meld into the offense, and he's going to do what he has to do to get the ball to all the players. Whereas a guy like Jalen Hurts, great, not taking anything away from him, but I just see him going into a place where he's going to run all over the place and then he's going to throw the football. Where Mahomes is going to run, he's not the best runner, but he's elusive, and he's going to get the ball to, if you look at his statistics, he throws that football to everybody on the football. It's amazing that Andy Reid hasn't caught a touchdown pass from him.
And look at the X Factor, Kadarius Toney. I mean, he was quiet in the first half, and look at the second half. He catches the early touchdown. He was wide open on that fake and stuff, and then he had the 65-yard punt return. I couldn't believe there's never been a punt return in a Super Bowl, but that punt return sealed the deal. And then Sky Moore scores a touchdown after the punt return. So using all these guys, and 7th-round pick Isaiah Pacheco from Rutgers, the running back, 15 for 76 on the ground, a touchdown too, and all of his runs resulted in 4 first downs, and then of course Jared McKinnon, the slide at the 2-yard line to waste let them run down the clock for the game. So I mean, it's a smart offense, and I kind of wonder, Rich, if Mahomes would have got drafted by Chicago Bears, do you think Mahomes would have had that much success in Chicago as well, or is it the Andy Reid system?
No, I don't. No, listen, I don't know. You know why? Because I see him do stuff on that football field that I just think is pure instinct. I really do. I see him with those shuffle passes, and I see them when there's nobody open, and he just he doesn't panic. Like he just he'll give little forward passes that he has coming across his body, running 100 miles an hour, throwing the ball 33 yards across the field for a 5-yard catch to get the first down. I mean, he does things that a lot of these guys do not do, man. And again, Jalen Hurts is super duper talented, super athletic. So is so is Lamar Jackson. So is Tua. Like a lot of these guys did, but I just don't think a lot of these quarterbacks in the NFL, not taking away from any of them, comparatively to Pat Mahomes. I just think, again, listen to me, I kiss Pat Mahomes' ass, but he is the best athlete / football player on the planet right now, and I don't even think it's close, dude. I really don't. I don't think it's close.
And the legendary play, Rich, was the 26-yard scramble. I mean, the guy had a messed up ankle, and running for 26 yards right there, it's just like that play stands out as maybe one of the best quarterback rushes in Super Bowl history. He does wonders. He's a Superman. And I'm just wondering, Rich, when do we put him in the same category as the GOAT, as Brady? And how many more Super Bowls do that? I mean, he's right up there right now. The way what the magic that he's working, he's becoming another Brady right before our eyes.
And listen, he's a better quarterback than Tom Brady.
Oh, much more. He does a lot more than Brady does. And with the trick plays and everything like that, I mean, different type of quarterback, of course. Right, but yeah. But 2 Super Bowls under his belt right now, 1 loss. He's been there 3 times. And I don't know, how old is Mahomes? Like 26, 25, 26?
Yeah, I think he's not yet 26, I don't think. I mean, he's still young. He's still going to be around a long time. And you know what amazes me about him, too, is if you watch, the little stupid things, like when he got hurt last week. Okay, whatever, a couple weeks ago. It's long ago now. But, you notice, when he limped back out onto that field, how he kind of switched up the way he was throwing the football a little bit more upright, using, his upper body and kind of getting the ball way up in the air, kind of throwing the ball upright because he was relying more on his hips. They're relying more on the leg because the leg was bothering him so much. He'd be falling and he'd be throwing from like above his head. He would just make the adjustments to make the play. You know what I mean?
Yep. And at the halftime with that ankle injury, and everyone's saying he's getting medical attention. You know what? I heard a story from one of the Chiefs players on the radio. One of the Chiefs players said, no, he was in that locker room. They were down 10 points. He was telling the players, listen, this is what you have to do in the second half, basically. So that's the type of guy he is. It's just incredible how he came back out, and, he's got plenty of time to rest the ankle now, of course. But what a performance, though. I mean, amazing.
He has to have that team in total lockdown and complete 100% confidence, because I don't know about you, but those offensive linemen are big, tough, bearded, 350-pound guys. When Pat Mahomes is talking to them in that voice that he has, I mean, listen, man, you got to be a really confident guy to squeak at a bunch of 350-pound guys and have some guy squeak at you what to do. So he must really, the way he talks, he sounds like he's squeaking. And, it's for him to have, he must be a really tough dude, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no. Garrett Cole has the same voice, but we don't hear Garrett Cole telling the Yankees to come out, let's win the World Series, basically. But
whatever about Garrett.
But the NFL season's over. It was a pretty good season, great Super Bowl, and now we're going to the off season, Rich. And a lot of teams have quarterback issues and stuff. And I saw in the paper this weekend. Actually, I was driving past on my way home from my mom's. I was driving past the Florham Park facility where the New York Jets practice. And in that facility this weekend was one Derek Carr looking for a contract. So what do you think about Carr or Rodgers, Rich? What do you think?
All right, before I get into, I have a lot to say about that. But before, I just want to rewind real quick and just say one last thing about Pat Mahomes.
Sure.
I was looking online and Twitter and stuff like that. He was getting a lot of shit for the way he acted the other day. I guess at the parade, he was drunk, I guess, and he was just being silly. He wasn't doing anything stupid, But if you look at the kid's history, he's not the big party animal. He's a family man. The kid lost his mind at a party a little bit and had a few too many drinks. The kid's won his second Super Bowl before his 25th or 26th birthday. He wants to have a couple of drinks and get a little silly. Stop the guy. Let him get a little silly. Okay, stop at the Monday morning quarterbacks. Like, oh, I don't know where I read it somewhere. It's like, oh, your quarterback has to, he has to be a good example and this, that, and the other thing. The kid's not even 26 and he's won 2 Super Bowls already, dude. Leave the kid alone. Let him enjoy himself. Let him and Kelsey, do their little thing with the trophy and stop breaking his chops. Pat Mahomes, like I said, do whatever you do, brother. Because you know what though, that next day I'm sure he was in there watching film.
Yeah, and it's funny because I look back at Brady at the celebration 2 years ago, and Brady was drunk, and he doesn't drink that much either. He was drunk, and he actually threw the trophy, and the trophy almost went into Tampa Bay and sunk. Imagine if that would have happened, how they would have dug that up, like probably have to dig it up like they did the Titanic and stuff. But all this, and the funny thing is, Rich, about this all, my wife, she loves watching these videos with the Kelsey brothers now. She's in love with Travis and his brother. So the Kelsey brothers, another great thing to watch this Super Bowl, and the mom, she's a champion again. She was gonna be a champion no matter what. But yeah, so the Kelsey brothers and all the stories and the funny things that they do. Maybe they should have a reality show, right?
You never know. They might. They got a podcast. They absolutely have a reality show. Those 2 guys are very entertaining. They put the mom in the mix. But listen, everybody just got to throw it against the wall, see what sticks. Maybe everybody start watching the MURF and EDUBBS show soon. You never know. Maybe we'll throw it against the wall and they'll stick. Maybe thousands of people will be watching us. But I think those 2 guys, they have a very, very interesting and very podcast. They get real and they really talk about how they really do beat the shit out of each other in the trenches over there. And I enjoy their podcast. It is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's good. I'm watching this NBA All-Star game, Rich. There's 46 points scored in the first 6 minutes of the game. I mean, are they going to score 400 points in this game or what?
Probably. We're gonna talk about that later. But you just brought up the quarterback controversy. Yeah, yes. I got a lot to say about this, dude.
Okay.
Go ahead. You know what? What do you think about this first? Because I'm gonna, me, I'm gonna go off on my tangent and I'm not gonna come up for air. Like, how do you feel about this whole situation?
Okay, now I was listening to a couple of guys talk the other night. I was eavesdropping, went out to dinner with my mom, and I was eavesdropping these guys talking at another table, and they were talking about Derek Carr, and they said that Carr might be the more beneficial quarterback to go to the Jets because he's got youth. And he's been there. He's got the numbers and stuff. He just played in a bad system with the Raiders. Look how many coaches and offensive coordinators he had over the year, the poor guy and stuff. I think he played for like 6 coaches and stuff. So that's my feed. I think Rodgers, I don't know. If you get Aaron Rodgers, you got to go all in now, Rich. You got to spend your money on free agents. You got a small window with Rodgers. I think you have a bigger window with Carr. That's my look at it. I mean, they definitely have to do something with a veteran quarterback. I gather that, yeah. But I think Carr's the right way to go. And I know you're going to go Rodgers, right?
Yes, I'm going to go Rodgers. The only thing that bothers me about the whole Rodgers thing is like he's going to go into the darkness somewhere and he's going to, I don't know what the hell he's doing. I think he's emerging tomorrow or something. But what's he going to do? Like, is he going to play the game? I don't know, maybe. I mean, Derek Carr's a free agent now. On paper, Derek Carr would be nice. But listen, I'm hearing a lot of people saying what you're saying. Derek Carr is the safer choice, or David Carr has never won anything anyway, dude. Either than Aaron Rodgers. And if you forget, both of these guys were throwing the ball to Davante Adams. Now we all agree, right? Davante Adams is a top wide receiver in the game. How come Derek Carr couldn't mend with this guy who's supposedly his friend? And again, I don't know nothing about Derek Carr. And listen, would he be nice to be on the Jets? Guys, Jet fans out there, we don't have a quarterback right now. We literally do have a person to play the position of quarterback. And if anybody out there thinks that it's Zach Wilson, I don't want to go on a tangent again and murder this kid, but I don't think he's a quarterback, and I don't think he's even a quarterback to stay behind a guy like Rodgers or a guy like Carr or whoever it is that you want to bring in to lead the Jets. It doesn't matter. I just don't think he's the guy. My whole thing with the Jets is, and I'm a diehard Jet fan, I'm 50 years old. They haven't won a Super Bowl in 54 years. It's been a lot of years. A lot of years of not seeing them in the Super Bowl. So you know what, though? Right now we have absolutely nothing. But what we do have is an exciting, young, talented offense like in Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, and you make a couple maneuvers in the offseason. Maybe that guy from Cleveland, the center over there, maybe he's unhappy and he wants to leave Cleveland, because he wants, give him a big contract. He's supposed to be one of the best in the league. You know what I'm saying? Because right now we don't have a person to fill that position. What I would want to do is I don't care what we do, take all 3 of those guys, take Flacco, send him packing. He's probably going to retire anyway. He doesn't want to play anymore. You take the other guy, Strebler or whoever this guy guy is? He's going to be, what's his name? What's that guy from a long time ago that the Packers picked up that got all that money? Flynn. He's going to be another Flynn. Okay, and then you're gonna get our Zach Wilson. Maybe he keeps saying it all the time, and I keep talking about him being a Mormon and stuff. Yeah, maybe he should just go back to Utah and coach, a high school football team or something. Fire all those guys, and I hate to say it, have them get different jobs. Pick up somebody in the draft, and I don't even care who it is. Pick up somebody in the third round, the second round. Do your research. Bring in Aaron Rodgers now, and if you don't want Aaron Rodgers leading your football team next year because maybe he did a lot of ayahuasca, or he's sitting in a dark room, or if he's not happy who he's playing with, they're all a bunch of divas. But I think Aaron Rodgers is 39 years old, and if he sees a bunch of young guys that are hungry to win a football game, they have a good defense. I mean, come on, guys. It's a no-brainer. I understand everybody's worried about the money. Who cares? Give him $100 million for 2 years. It's not your money. Just go to the games. And if you don't want to pay him, don't go to the games. Don't buy the jerseys. I can tell you one thing. I made the mistake of going out and buying a Brett Favre jersey. I'm not going out to buy an Aaron Rodgers jersey. But I would welcome Aaron Rodgers, and he is the quarterback that I want quarterbacking this football team next year. I don't want anybody else but him. But you know what, though? If they go out tomorrow and by some chance I read, on Twitter or something that they offered Carr a contract, I'm not going to be upset because, again, it goes back to my same problem. We don't have anybody throwing us the football. And after Derek Carr takes a severe turn, Ryan Tannehill, go away. All these guys. The only two guys that are there are Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers. And Jet fans, if you want Aaron Rodgers, come on, man. I think you guys are out of your minds if you don't want Aaron Rodgers. But if they do go out and sign Derek Carr, I'm not going to be upset about that because he's a good he's a good quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers, maybe he'll go somewhere and win a Super with somebody else. But Aaron Rodgers needs to be the quarterback of the New York Jets next year. Please get it done. Woody Johnson should be standing outside in the sunshine of that dark room right now with a piece of paper in hand saying, here's $110 million, 60 guaranteed, win me a Super Bowl.
Derek Carr, 35,000 career yards, only 31 years old. Completion percentage, 64.6%. 217 touchdowns, only 99 interceptions. So, Carr is a good choice. He's got the age, too, over Rodgers. But, though, Rodgers is a legend. So we'll see how this plays out. I know that since Carr was cut loose by the Raiders, the Jets can sign him today, tomorrow, the next day. So that could happen before the free agency period signs. So we'll see how this plays out, Rich. I don't know about Aaron Rodgers. Is he still with the Packers? Has he been cut loose? I don't know what's going on. Would it have to be a trade? I don't know.
What would you do? Now, here's you. You're kind of in a similar situation than I am. Tom Brady's retired. You guys have that quarterback. You don't know who the hell he is. I mean, and listen, you all know that Rodgers is not coming to the Bucs because of the fact is, there's not a no trade clause there. If they're going to trade him, they can do whatever the hell they want. So he's not going to go to the Bucs. And again, that would be a good fit for him because of the wide receivers and they're, whatever. But he's not going to the Bucs. All right. Now, what about you? Why don't the Bucs offer a Derek Carr contract?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bucs have a lot to accomplish this offseason. They got a lot older players.
I was looking at it today. The offensive line of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a disaster, dude.
Yeah, it's a disaster. I mean, Leonard Fournette, old, fat, they got to see what these defensive guys, what they want to do. There's a lot of questionable things out there for the Bucs. So I don't know if they go for a drafting, I don't think they'll go for, who knows, maybe Garoppolo. But the thing with the Buccaneers, I mean, they're kind of like ranked number 30th right now in the rankings, the 32 team rankings. So only the Texans and Colts are below them. Might have the mighty have fallen, Rich. So it's going to be a off season of discontent for the Bucs. I know with the cap space, I mean, they're not good anywhere. So we'll see what happens. But I had my Super Bowl 2 years ago. I think it's going to take a long time to get back there. But as we know in the NFL, things can happen pretty fast, and teams can get back to to goodness again after a couple of bad years. So we'll see what happens.
When was the last time you witnessed your team winning a Super Bowl? How many years ago?
It was 2 years ago.
Okay, 54 years. 5-4. It's older than me. 54 years, and we won it because some idiot sold his soul to the devil.
Well, that's kind of like what I'm saying, Rich. I mean, if they do the Rodgers thing, it has to be they're all in now. Look, the Buccaneers brought in Tom Brady. They were all in now. They brought in all the pieces, basically. They had some receivers and stuff, which the Jets have. The Jets have the receivers. They got the young running back, so they're building the foundation. So they have to be in all now, basically. So Woody's got to throw everything and the kitchen sink to get this team to where they want to be next year.
Yeah, you know what I think would be, really funny because I saw it like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I guess Joe Namath is out there kind of trying to get Aaron Rodgers to come to the Jets, and obviously he wears number 12, and he's saying that he'd be willing to take number 12 down from the rafters and put it on Aaron Rodgers' back. Now, I'm a Jet fan, and a lot of Jet fans would never find this funny, but I would find this absolutely hysterical. Know that Aaron Rodgers, what an outspoken weirdo he is, him turning around and saying, "Dude, I'll just take the number 13, man. You didn't do nothing special in the NFL. I'll just take a different number. I don't need you to hand me number 12." Could you imagine if you made a big spectacle of it and made Joe Namath kind of like feel really small and like a ceremony, like the handing over ceremony of the number 12? It's like, oh, dude, big deal. I'm going to do ayahuasca with Joe Rogan in a couple of months, bro. Big deal.
Oh my God! Imagine that if he.
I think that's so funny. Jet fans would want to kill him. Jet fans would want to, go at him with like this, with spears and and fire and want to set his house on fire. But I would laugh my ass off if I ever saw that. Joe Namath would probably like, "What do you mean? That's all here." He wouldn't even know. He's like Joe Biden. He wouldn't even know they were making fun of him.
The big question, though, if Joe Namath said to retire my number now, would they re-retire it when Aaron Rodgers left? Would that happen, or I don't know?
Absolutely. You know what? Even if Aaron, let me ask you a question. If Aaron Rodgers wins a Super Bowl with the New York Jets, I am claiming him as my quarterback. I don't care if he's there a year or 2 years. I am claiming him. I will go down there and rip that number 12 Namath jersey out of whatever that stadium's called now myself and rehang and put the name Rodgers on the back, dude. You know me. I just can't stand the whole legend of Joe Namath. Whatever, dude. Guy wear a fur coat. Who cares, man? I can't stand all the talk about him. I just can't. Come on, bring me Aaron Rodgers and give me a legend to hang my hat on. I don't even care. Just give me something to talk about. That's all. I just want something to talk about. Like what the Mets. Like I said, we're going to get to baseball, in a little while, but we got stuff to talk about with our teams. I want stuff to talk about with the Jets.
There you go, Rich. Yeah, hopefully soon. Hopefully this is a good off season and get them back to where they should be, Rich. I'm hoping for you. You deserve anybody I know who deserves a championship. You deserve a Mets World Series again and a Jets Super Bowl to see for the first time, Rich. So hopefully those are in the near future for you, big guy.
You know what I'm really curious about? Still talking about football for a second. You know what I'm really, really curious about? I'm really curious about what kind of a season Russell Wilson is going to have this year with the Denver Broncos. And you know why I'm saying this, right? Now, I think Russell Wilson, you've heard me speak in the past, I think Russell Wilson was who he was because of Pete Carroll. What do you call it? Example being, he's in Denver, the coach, terrible. Russell Wilson's probably, I don't know, the whole meme was, I think he threw more interceptions than he has bathrooms or something, or touchdowns, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got a coach coming into this program now that's a winning coach. Now, do you think that this guy is going to be like, now you think Russell Wilson's going to start winning again because he's going to have a coach with a winning mentality and not somebody that doesn't know what the hell they're doing?
Put my money down, Rich. Comeback Player of the Year. I'm saying it on February 19th, 2023. Come this time next year, Russell Wilson will be Comeback Player of the Year. And I read about Sean Payton. I know what he does. He did this thing with Drew Brees. I mean, the guy is a motivator, and that's how the Saints won the Super Bowl that year with Brees and stuff. I mean, this guy's a coach. This guy knows what's going on. The last guy they had, Hackett, who's now the offensive coordinator on Jets, he's a great offensive coordinator. He's not a coach. He doesn't have to do time management. But Sean Payton is the all-around guy, and all of his assistant coaches follow under that Payton system. So I think the Denver Broncos are going to be a good team, and Russell Wilson, mark my word. I'll put $2 on it right now with my $2 bets. Russell Wilson, Comeback Player of the Year.
Yes, and like you said, Sean Payton going there, taking over that organization. He's not there just to say yes. Like, he's there to take over a team. Like, he was the coach back then. Now he's also going in there, and I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if he's an offensive minded, defensive minded guy. Eric, could you clear that up for me, or you don't know yourself?
Yeah, I think he's offensive minded, but he was
He was part of that Saints team back then. With the headhunting thing, and he was the head coach, right?
Yep, he was. He got suspended the 1 year, yep.
He's going to go in there, and he's going to say to that defense, who, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 or 4 months ago was probably one of the top defenses in the NFL. He's just going to go in there and, tell these maniacs, just go in there and just kill everybody, and I'm going to handle the offense. And he's going to grab Russell Wilson. They got two really good wide receivers. They got a good running back that's ready to go. Listen, put a couple of guys on that offensive line. Maybe they get a couple of these of these free agent offensive linemen. I think you're right, man. That's the point I'm bringing up. I think Russell Wilson next year is going to be one of the comeback players of the year. I may even think Denver might even get close to winning a Super Bowl just because of the coach and, for lack of a better term, the quarterback being all in because he's being coached correctly. And I know that's a bad thing to say because you can't compare him to people that don't need good coaches to win. But a guy like Russell Wilson, do you? You know what I mean? So maybe he's going to be comeback player of the year next year. I really do think so.
Don't forget, Rich, they have the wide receivers too. I mean, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy.
Judy's good, man. Judy's a little fragile, but he's a really good wide receiver.
Yeah, and don't forget Javonte Williams, the running back who was injured. He's supposed to have the star year this year. They were supposed to give him the starting job over Melvin Gordon, and he got hurt and stuff. So there's big things happening with the Broncos, I think, next year. So I know this year we thought that division was going to be maybe 4 teams make the playoffs. Look what happened. The Chargers just squeaked in basically. With the Chiefs winning it. But yeah, I don't know.
What a terrible choice to play him for. What a terrible choice to play him, Kevin James. I like Kevin James. He's funny, King of Queens. I like him on, he was funny in Grown Ups. But to play Peyton, I don't know. They could have picked somebody else to play Sean Payton, you'd think, right? I don't know if you saw that movie. I saw parts of it. It wasn't that interesting.
What movie was that, Rich? What movie?
The movie, what do you call it? I forgot the name of it. Game Time or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Kevin James played Sean Payton. I don't know if it was a comedy or I don't know if it was real religious based. I don't know what was going on there. But yeah, they could have picked a better guy than Kevin James to play Sean Payton.
Yeah, you want comedy, Rich? 92 points scored in the first quarter of this NBA All-Star game. 92 points.
I can't even with this thing here. I mean, it's almost it's almost like you see the Pro Bowl, with the NFL Pro Bowl towards the end of the year.
Yeah, what'd you think about that? What'd you think about that Pro Bowl? We didn't speak about that.
I haven't watched the Pro Bowl in years, and I know we talked about it a couple of weeks ago about how I used to love watching it in like the early '80s on NBC because we never got a chance to see Dan Fouts and Joe Montana, and Kellen Winslow and just keep John Elway and just keep naming all these players. We never got to see them, so we would wait for the Pro Bowl, and it was somewhat competitive, but it was just nice to see other players, that we wouldn't see unless we were watching the playoffs. But it's just come to a point where it's just a bunch of guys getting together for a flag football game. That's all well and good. It doesn't. You don't have to watch it if you don't want to. But it's just not a competitive thing anymore. So I don't watch it. But again, I get it. I guess it's kind of like the guys get together and they have a good time. And after a long season, because I'm going to go into something in a couple of minutes ago that what's his name Silver said. About the NBA, about the the time that these players are taking off. I'm going to say something about that. But these football players go through a grueling 18 seasons. And plus if you make the playoffs and then you go to the Super Bowl, like Pat Mahomes, limping off the field during the Super Bowl. It's like these guys go through a grueling couple of months of getting the shit beat out of them week in and week out. So if they want to go down to Hawaii and hang out and play flag football with their buddies, that's fine, man. I just not going to watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it was a free vacation for the guys. They see each other after the season. They get together, have a good time and stuff. But I'm with you, Rich. I kind of like to see in the old days when they wore their team helmets and stuff, and they played for their conferences. And now these All-Star games, I guess the baseball is the only real one. American League versus National League. I mean, even the NBA one. It's like who's my friend? Who do I want to put on my team? It's like a high school pickup game. Yeah,
it is, and you can even see from last night, I started watching the. Maybe I should have kept the 3-point competition on because once I watched Jalen Ramsey get up. There's Jalen Ramsey is in this 3-point competition. He's representing the Knicks. I was watching him throw up some bricks, and I'm like, I remember the 3-point shots. 3-point. Competition back in the day when you have Larry Bird going up against you name your 3-point shooters, or the Ray Allen went up into this competition back more in the 90s, and Reggie Miller and all these 3-point shooters, and Steph Curry earlier in the day, but. Earlier in his career, but if you guys want the NBA to come back, which it's coming back slowly but surely, but you want to not make a mockery out of it. I could see the slam dunk contest because the slam dunk contest is won by a 6-foot tall kid from the Sixers that I think he's only played 2 games in the NBA, and this is the kid that's winning the slam dunk contest. I understand that, but you want to see, for lack of a better guy, you want to see LeBron. You want to see these guys banging down the slam dunk. Is it lack for they don't want to get looked at as if they mess up? have some fun with it, man. So if you lose, you lose. You know what though? In LeBron, if you're in the slam dunk contest or Tatum or I'm gonna explain in a couple minutes. I'm gonna stop beating up LeBron in a little bit too. I'm gonna apologize to him a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. But guys like him have to start in these skills competitions so more people would watch on television, and I understand the NBA fans know these guys like Halliburton, the guy that won the 3-point contest. The guy was draining threes like crazy, but he's not a household name, you know what I mean? But I think that these guys, the skills competition would be more fun. I think, basketball would be the spot where a skills competition would have more people watching because it would be more fun if the big names were to get involved. Yeah, you think that's true, or I think I'm just talking out of my ass here?
Rich, I kind of looked at the 3-point contest, and I kind of looked at the stats too. So I really had no qualms about the 3-point contest. I mean, you had Buddy Hield, who's number 1. He was you got Dame Lillard 4. Jason Tatum's up there is number 6. The local guy Lauri Markkanen, he's the number 9. Julius Randle from the Knicks, believe it or not, he's number 11. Rich in 3-pointers, And then you got Kevin Huerter and Tyler Hero's even in the top 30. So these got the point contest was good. Dame Lillard won, and Lillard, he's a great player. He was number 4 in 3-pointers so far this year. That's great. But what I have a problem with, Rich, you put this NBA puts this showcase on TV, and you give me these 4 guys in the slam dunk contest: Mac McClung, Trey Murphy III, Jericho Sims, Kenyon Martin Jr. Let me just explain this, Rich. You go back to the past, right? Listen to these slam dunk champions from the past: Donovan Mitchell, Zach LaVine, Blake Griffin, Dwight Howard, Vince Carter, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, Larry Nance. I mean, that's what we want to see. Mac McClung has played 2 games in his NBA career. He played 2 games last year. He was signed by the Sixers on Valentine's Day from the G League team. And then all of a sudden, the next day, he's invited to the slam dunk contest. You can't tell me there's better guys out there that can slam dunk the ball. Trey Murphy, he started 46 out of 56 games with the Pelicans this year, mainly because Williamson's been out, so he's been a starter this year. Jericho Sims, 21 starts in 2 years with the Knicks, and basically he's playing because Mitch Robinson's been on the shelf and stuff. And then Kenyon Martin Jr., I think his father was a better player. He's only had 35 starts in 3 years.
He's very entertaining too. He's very entertaining as a commentator too.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got that Shaq Barkley mold where he just kind of rips everybody when they don't play hard.
Exactly. So you mean to tell me that this is the best you could do for a slam dunk contest with 30 teams and over 400, 500 players? This is the best you can put out there on a Saturday night prime time?
Yeah.
What are they thinking?
Yeah. Because you know what it is? Because I don't think that they really care. Like, it's just a spectacle now. They just throw that. It's kind of like, I mean, the NFL I think does a better job of it. The NFL puts their stamp on something. Nothing's beating the NFL. The NFL puts their stamp on something. People will watch Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady play chess against each other. It has to do with the NFL. That's a sport that just thrives on its own. The NBA thinks that's the same way. The NBA thinks they can put their NBA stamp on it, and they could roll out. Listen, the guy that won the slam dunk contest last night, I had no idea who he was. I literally thought he was that kid, the professor. I don't even know if you know who the professor is, but he's like this like kind of legend, like ballpark legend, taking shots, a little white kid, and eventually like they found him, and he was on this like traveling like trick team, kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters, but he's very popular on the internet. But I looked at him, I was like, is this the professor? I'm looking around like the slam dunk contest, like you said, all those names back in the day. I mean, it was a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I'm like, who's this kid winning the slam dunk contest?
You remember Dominique Williams, Rich? Dominique Wilkins, yeah. You remember that? Larry Nance even. I mean, even Dr. J back in the day and stuff, I mean, come on now. These names, I mean, I can guarantee you, if I ask anybody that listens to this podcast what teams these guys play on, I mean, I'm going to know. But if I ask, I'm not quite sure that anybody would guess which teams these guys play on.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Jericho Sims because he's a New York Knick, maybe because the Knicks. But I'm just saying, like, nobody knows where these guys play.
Eric, listen, Eric. Admittingly, I'm a decently big NBA fan. Like,
sure,
I really don't know some of these guys. I don't know who some of these guys in the NBA are.
It's crazy. It's unreal. And then the fans pay a nice price to go to these events too, Rich. So this is what you're showing the fans too.
Yes, you're right. And you just brought up something that gave me a little bit of that pissed me off a little bit that Mr. Silver said. He was talking yesterday at a press conference, talking about how these guys are taking these. What do they call them? These days off.
Oh yeah, load management. Yes,
Load management. Did you hear what he said yesterday? Did you hear what Adam Silver said about load management the other
I
day?
did not know.
I saw an interview with him. I guess it was yesterday or something. Because obviously, it's all over the place. There's guys like me and there's guys like you who think this load management thing is a bunch of shit. You know what I mean? Then you got the younger guys who think like, oh, they need a break. So Adam Silver yesterday, we see where where he lies with that whole load management thing, because the way he said it, like he was saying it, and it's also he couldn't believe he was saying it in the same breath, because he's talking about how these guys need load management. Load management is key for these players to play towards the end of the year. He's like, they need their break. It's like, sometimes there's a lot of injuries. It stops a lot of injuries. And he's kind of like, not backpedaling, but he's sticking up for the fact that these big time stars, they take days off just for kind of like load management. He also said in the same breath that ticket sales for home games, for season ticket holders, for games in general across the NBA, he says they're at an all-time high. Now, in the same breath, he says that. Now, I think that you're contradicting yourself by saying those two things, because I think you don't have one without the other. Because you have these load management days. Like I said, you go back to the fact that, say, again, let's go back to a guy who does it a lot, Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry's a stupendous basketball player. The guy is unbelievable. But there are days when you look down and he's not on the roster and you're like, why is he not playing? And you see a load management day. Goes back to the fact that people pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And I don't care what you say. I'm still on this side of the fence by saying that the kid worked whatever for his paper route money, Kyle Lowry play, and he decides to take a load management day. And I know it sounds like an old curmudgeon because the old timers never took days off. But the fact of the matter is, load management might hurt sales in the long run as opposed to helping sales. Yeah, it's getting you guys into the building now because they do want to see the superstars, because there's a different game now where people follow the stars and they don't follow the teams. But this load management may eventually get these guys in trouble, because they may say, you know what, though, I bought all these home games and I wanted to see LeBron James, 30 times and I only saw him 26 because he took load management. Whatever. Maybe I won't buy the season tickets next year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think the way to do it, Rich, maybe don't do back-to-back games. A lot of these teams play on back-to-back nights. They're traveling back-to-back nights, too. They're sleeping in different hotels. Maybe don't do that anymore. Just try something, I know the NBA experimented this year where a couple of the West Coast teams, say if Houston goes to play Sacramento, they'll play 2 games in 3 nights there. So that's great, too. I mean, like the kids who go to the Barclays Center want to see LeBron. Remember when the Nets... How many kids were disappointed that night that LeBron wasn't playing that night in Brooklyn, but he played against the Knicks the next night at Madison Square Garden? So, it's just like, why are they doing this? And the thing that gets me, it was New York. There was no travel. I mean, they're playing in Brooklyn one night and Manhattan the next. So basically, you're staying in the same hotel 2 nights in a row, basically. So why does he need to take off game if they're playing in the same city, basically?
Exactly. And comparatively. You want to talk about load management. Okay, let's talk about load management, because I brought this up a little while ago. Who do you think needs more load management in a full season of football come the end of this year? Do you think a guy I was going to use LeBron, but I pick on LeBron a lot. Who do you think needs more load management in a season from day one to the end of the day? Do you think Kevin Durant needs more load management, or Patrick Mahomes needs more load management?
Probably because he was getting hurt.
I'm talking about specifically from I'm trying to make a point here. I'm trying to make a point that the football season is a lot shorter than the NBA season. But I think a football player that plays a full 17-game season, then enters his team into the playoffs, then they play in a championship, and then they play in a Super Bowl. By the end, if you haven't missed, if you missed maybe like 5 minutes in the entire season just because maybe you had to, limp off the field for something, I think your body is beat up a hell of a lot more than Kevin Durant's is beat up on an 82-game season. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's true. That's true. And a lot of these football teams, sometimes they give the guys a rest on week 17 if they're making the playoffs and they have a number one.
You know what, though, Eric? Another thing too. Again, I'm sorry. This makes. What would you say as? How about this? What would you say about a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan? The year they're going to win a Super Bowl, and week 13, Tom Brady had a fight with his wife, and he tells the owner that he needs a load management day and he can't play that day. What would you do as a fan? What would the people do in the NFL? Like, you need a load management day. And I understand through an 82 game season, I understand that you could pick and choose days to take off. I understand the length of the season, but I'm just talking about the term load management with wear and tear on your body. A football player's load management is completely different than a guy that's playing basketball, 3 or 4 times a week and sleeping in different hotel rooms. I think a guy that's getting the shit beat out of him every Sunday, they're getting screamed at him for 25 to 30 hours a week at practice because he screwed up on Sunday. That guy's got more mental and physical load management than I think that any basketball player has.
So you know what Adam Silver's telling us, Rich? Basically, I'm trying to read between the lines. He's basically telling us that the season doesn't matter. The playoffs are what matter, basically. So he's probably saying the 82-game season doesn't matter. But you know what? We're paying the same price for tickets no matter what. Look at the NBA come March, Rich. Writing on the season, look at these teams that rest their players. You're going to see players out there that you don't even know the names on, yet the fans are going to be paying $200, $300 a ticket to watch this type of exhibition type basketball. So do you think that's what Adam Silver is saying when you read between the lines, that the regular season doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, I think he is. I do think that he is saying that. I think he's saying that, come see the playoffs. That's what he's saying. Look, I'm not saying he wants every arena to be filled. And this day and age, you're not going to really see many empty seats in a basketball arena. I mean, unless you're in, some place like Minnesota. Actually, they've been playing pretty well too. But, I guess it's doing pretty good. But yeah, you're right. He's basically saying it's like the playoffs, are all that matters. It's kind of, and hockey's not like that. I think the hockey fans bring that more on themselves than anything, saying that the hockey playoffs, are really tough and great to watch. But I think if you talk to a diehard hockey fan, they're like, no. We don't kick back. We play all 82 games and everything matters. For the fair weather fan like me, I like watching the playoffs. But I think the real hockey fans, no, these guys play their asses off for, however amount of games they play, and they don't take any load management days. I mean, I don't watch hockey enough to say that, but I would have to think that a hockey fan could call me on this. But I don't think hockey players take too many load management days. I just got a bad taste in my mouth about these guys that do that. And I know I pick on certain guys like Kyle Lowry and LeBron James. And why can't you play in New York and in Brooklyn, dude? Why? You're there. Just go into the arena and play. You're better than everybody on the court, even when you're really tired. But these kids want to come see you play.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just do it, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
I hate to keep saying about Jordan and Barkley and these guys. They never took load management days. But again, I know it's a different game, and these guys are running, I guess, more. I don't know. These guys were getting punched in the face back in the 90s. I think they needed time to from a broken jaw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They need some time off.
I want to talk about a couple of things about hockey, Rich. I think the hockey players do play more games than the NBA players. They don't take days off because they're not really they have 3 lines, these teams, so they're constantly on and off the ice. Basically, they're not skating the whole game. You know what I mean? But taking it back, Rich, you look at these guys with load management, and then you see this guy that Nets got from Phoenix, Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges hasn't missed a game since high school, so he's like the NBA Iron Man. And I thought his streak would have ended when he got traded, but the NBA put a stipulation in that because he just got traded, had to get his physical and everything like that, he wasn't eligible to play that day, so that doesn't count. So the streak is still alive for him, basically. So hasn't missed a game since high school. How about that?
That's fantastic. That's how it should be. Why isn't everybody like that? Why isn't it? You get that butterflies in your stomach when you're about to play that game. That feeling isn't there. I guess that feeling isn't there anymore. I don't know. If you're playing or doing your job, does it become a job eventually? I guess when people want to retire from their chosen careers, I guess maybe some of the reasons is because it just becomes a job. I don't know. There's some of these guys, it just literally just becomes a job, and they go out there, and if they want to play or not, they're going to get the paycheck anyway. I don't know.
And then we see load management in baseball. It's called the designated hitter, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But at least the guy's still playing, though. He's still playing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. I don't know. I mean, the NBA is really starting to heat up now, man. I mean, I have no problem with the NBA is going right now because my Celtics are really just. I'm watching a guy from Jason Tatum who is just playing amazing, dude. I mean, he's doing everything. He's doing everything possible to become that guy on the Celtics. That's that next look, that guy. I mean, the guy that's not going to leave, the guy that's going to wear the green and white for the rest of his career. He's smiling. Seen him last night in that 3-point competition, talking to the fans, signing stuff. You know what I mean? He just looks happy. Like he's in a place like Boston with all that history of basketball. He's playing on a team where legends played, and they're just really doing something over there with the coach, and who I didn't, what I forgot about? What's his name? The The coach of the Boston Celtics is the guy who Allen Iverson stepped over and stepped on his chest.
Oh,
What was his
jeez.
name? Jesus Christ, I don't remember. I'm a bad Celtics fan. I don't remember his name, but they're doing something over there that's pretty cool, I think, in Boston. And they're all playing together. You get a guy like Al Horford over there that's been playing for like 50 years. He's like 112 years old, and he's still going out there kicking ass. He's hurt now, but you got a bunch of guys like Marcus Smart playing defense. You got there's so much talent on that team, and they have a deep bench that I would love to see them win a chance. I think they can, and I'm not saying they will because I'm going to put a hex on my team, but I think that they definitely can win a championship this year.
Yeah, and you know what, Rich? One player, and I just saw him on TV at the All-Star game. One player that nobody talked about on the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic. I mean, the guy's won 2 MVPs in a row, and he's going to go for a third, basically. I know Tatum's a great player, and he might be getting some NBA votes and stuff. But look at this guy, Jokic. He's averaging 24 points a game, 11.5 rebounds, 10 assists. He's shooting 63.2%. I mean, talk about the Uber center. He's doing everything, and he win the MVP for the first three-peat since Larry Bird did it 28 years ago. I forget how many years ago, so maybe not 28, but Jokic is only 28 years old, and he's working wonders. He's probably one of the best centers ever, basically, with what he does, and he doesn't get talked about that much.
No, I mean, because he's quiet. He's out in Denver, and when players go out to Denver, they really, Denver's just far away. I guess I don't know. Yeah, he is. He's doing, he's doing really good things. I mean, and I'm all over Luka this year too. I know Luka's had his games where he's been injured. He doesn't take load management days. Like I think he's like legitimately injured. He's doing something too, dude. He's averaging over 34 points a game. He's averaging 36 and a half minutes, 33 points a game. I mean, he's like a field goal over 50% field goal percentage. I mean, he's killing it too. You got Embiid, Agantuppo. These guys. There's some pretty. These guys there's some pretty rough and tumble point scorers that are out there right now. Lillard's out there. They're playing their minutes too, man. A lot of these guys are in the top scorers. They are playing their minutes, man. They're playing their games and they're playing their minutes. I mean, you got to go really, really down far to one of the top scorers here that's playing under 30 minutes. For what they got going on. So. Yeah, man. I mean, Luka, all these guys. I mean, basketball is very, very exciting right now.
Yeah, you know what gets me though, Rich, about the whole Luka Doncic thing? The Kyrie Irving. I mean, you bring Kyrie Irving into this mix. I mean, Doncic loves to have the ball by himself, but you know that Kyrie's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. So I'm kind of wondering if the 34 points a game sticks or it kind of decreases as the season goes on, basically. Because I don't know about you, but I thought Kyrie going to the Dallas Mavericks was not the best of places where he should have gone. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I don't know what Luka Doncic's contract is. I mean, maybe he wanted Kyrie to come, but I went on my rant about Kyrie last week. How the reason why I just figured it out last week. The reason why I can't stand him because I watched him play that one game with I mean, I watched him here and there, but I've never actually. So you can only actually sit there and watch what this guy can do without a superstar on the court. Luka wasn't there, so I'm just watching him, dude. And it just led me back to watching him on the court and watching old footage of him. When he was younger, he is an unbelievably talented basketball player, dude, but he could not care less. If he doesn't want to play, he's just not going to play. I mean, he does things with the basketball that I've only seen some of the greats do, like ball handling. I think one of the best ball handlers ever is probably Allen Iverson. I loved watching him handle the ball. He handles the ball like that. I mean, it's just I don't know. He just does so many things well, and then he'll get up on the wrong side of the bed, and he'll start thinking about how the Earth is flat, or he wants to attack another organization or something, and then he just goes downhill. And then what's he gonna do? It's gonna go downhill once he starts attacking Luka's home country. He'll say something cross about that. Then either you trade me or you trade Kyrie. Something's gonna blow up in Dallas. I don't think Mark Cuban is going to let it happen to an extent, but maybe he'll nip it in the bud before any other owners do. But while they're playing together, I mean, you got two of the most exciting players in basketball playing on the same team, but one of them happens to be a prolific scorer that I do not like. He's not going to like somebody like Kyrie and coming in and stealing some of his thunder. He's going to make his passive aggressive, sarcastic comments, and I think it's going to get out of hand. Maybe not this year, but I think it's going to get out of hand by next year.
Yeah, looking at Team LeBron, and I see Kyrie and Luka on the same team right now, along with Jokic too. So how about that? That's like a team to have, I guess, right? How would the ball control be on that team, basically? But you know, Rich, I'm looking at the standings. You see the Milwaukee Bucks? The Bucks have won like 12 in a row. They're like the hottest team right now. I think they forgot how to lose, basically. You know, even when Giannis was hurt and missed a couple of games, they still pick up the pace for him. I mean, they're only a half game behind the Celtics at 41-17 right now. They're looking good. I mean, there's some other teams that are looking good too. I mean, see how Kevin Durant, he's getting healthy now. So Devin Booker's healthy. We want to see about Phoenix now. What do you think about Phoenix? How can they? You think they might advance to the finals, Rich?
Listen, they could. You know, they definitely could. Phoenix with Durant. I mean, I'm going to see if Durant made the right decision. I think you're going to have to wait till next year if Durant made the right. This is what I personally think. I think you're going to have to wait till next year to see if Durant made the right decision. I mean, where's Phoenix sitting now? They look like they're sitting at the 5 seed right now. They're over.
Yeah, they're behind Sacramento, I think. Sacramento's not going to be the number 3 seed anymore. They're going to fall. You know that, right?
Yeah, but what's a team that's creeping up in the rank now. They're
the
slowly.
Clippers.
I mean,
the Clippers, right?
No, the Clippers, and I'm looking at the Sixers, dude.
In the East, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The only reason why I'm saying the Sixers is because if Embiid is allowed to do, I think Embiid is one. Listen, I know what's his name is the best center in basketball. He's probably one of the best players in basketball. But I think as far as you want to look at somebody that's an old school center, like a Shaq center, or somebody that's going to beat you up center, I think Joel Embiid is like one of like the last bastions of that big guy who's in the middle, and he's just like he's a center, and he's just going to kick your ass to get those points. And I think he's allowed to do that now because, Fat Boy James Harden is playing his game right now. Did you see he's averaging over 10? He's averaging over 10 assists a game. He's leading the league with assists. Yeah. So is Harden kind of being that guy now? Like, maybe I am just going to get fat and grow the beard out again. I'll just dish the ball out for the rest of my career. Maybe I'll just, and he's one of the reasons why the Sixers are, coming up in the rankings. And, Harden is kind of like, maybe he's realizing like I'm getting a little on in age and like, maybe I can be the role, high level role player, of course, but he's averaging over 10 assists a game. If that could be dangerous if he's locked in as, not being the guy and sharing the spotlight with Embiid, that could be a team that could be dangerous in the playoffs too, finally.
I agree. And then we'll look at the Nets. The Nets are like 10 games over 500 still, but you think they'll right? They'll probably going to die out in the first round. But you never know with this team. If they play with the young guys and stuff, and they play as a team, the sky's the limit. But yeah, they're 10 games over and creeping into the playoffs. I think, right? I think the Knicks might even pass them soon.
when you get to that lower half of the East, and there's really, I mean the Heat. You see some flashes of brilliance with the Heat, but I don't think the Nets, the Knicks. I mean, the Cavs are a nice story too, but I don't even think the Cavs, any of those teams are going to beat the Sixers, the Bucks, or the Celtics in the East because they just have so much firepower on those 3 teams. You got when you got Giannis, and when you got Giannis who could take a step back and have a bench player come out, 3 or 4 guys don't play all the time and just come out there and run the court and score points while the big guy's sitting on the bench. Listen, that's load management to me, dude. I mean, listen, if you want to play your game and take a couple of breaks during your game, that's your load management, I think. If you're the star of the team, that's your load management. And I understand that if you want to, Giannis, like he is the star on that team. But if he wants to take a couple of minutes, he can because he's got his brother over there and he's got other role players. But I just don't think the other 5 teams really have enough firepower to take out the Celtics, the Bucks, or the Sixers in the East.
Yeah, and then looking at the West, you got the Sacramento Kings, who are the 3rd seed, but they still have games with Milwaukee, Boston, Denver, Philadelphia, and 2 against the Clippers. Now, Rich, the Clippers won 10 out of 14. How would you like to see Boston, the Celtics versus the Clippers in the finals? You see Tatum and Brown versus Leonard and George. How about that? That would be pretty cool to watch, right?
I would, I would love it because my trio, my tandem will kill that tandem any day of the week, dude. That's what I think. I think hot Brown and Tatum going into the playoffs. I think any team has to watch out, dude. I really do. I don't care. Put your pairing. I don't care who the pairing is. Put them up against Brown and Tatum and the rest of the role players on Boston because those 2, when they're both clicking, you're getting 75 points a game out of both of them.
Yeah, no, that would be a good series. And also, I just want to talk about the Knicks for a sec. This kid, Josh Hart, they got, I think he's injecting some confidence in the team. And, if this Knicks team finishes in the 5th seed and they play the 4th seed, the Cavaliers, they just might actually win that playoff series. And I don't know when the last time the Knicks won a playoff series, but yeah, I mean, they haven't won a championship in 50 years either, so why not the Knicks, you know? But yeah, I mean, this kid, he's perfect. The Villanova kid, all these Villanova kids playing in New York now, between Brunson, Hart, and Bridges over with the Nets. All these Villanova kids in New York. It's pretty cool to see all these Big East kids.
Why do you think that why do you think that the Knicks can't get anybody, dude? Like, I don't know. Is there some kind of why can't the Knicks get a big player? Or why can't the Knicks get that, they always get the guy that's, they'll get the Stoudemire's and they'll get the Anthony's, why can't they just get that player? And you hear it every year, the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Eden. When are they going to get that guy again? When are they going to listen, if Michael Jordan was never born, Michael Jordan never was a person in this planet. You probably say this about a lot of teams, but the Knicks might have won at least 2 championships back in the 90s.
Yeah, Rich, I think the allure is not there. People don't want to play in New York anymore, maybe. Yeah. I know the Yankees had that for a while where, there was some word out there, nobody wants to Yankees anymore, and even there were some rumors after the World Series or the playoffs after this year, Rich, that nobody wanted to come to the Yankees, and I was kind of wondering who said that because there's only one guy off the team that wasn't there last year. It's like Jameson Taillon, maybe it was him, after the playoffs, the booing and stuff, but yeah, I mean, the Yankees went through a couple of years like that too before they actually got back to, fruition, back to championships and stuff. So I think it's whole allure. Nobody wants to come to New York anymore. I don't know why. It could be the taxes. Maybe they want to play in these cities where the taxes are low and stuff. That's why who wants to play for the Toronto Raptors, right? With the Canadian taxes up there. So it has a lot of factors, I think. You
might be right. I never really took that into consideration, but I was over with my. I was over in Brooklyn the other day. I went to go get my taxes done, and I got those guys over there, and they're the best. Just hanging out talking to them, and one of the guys that's in the office there is Matt. One of the other guys, and I forgot to text him and tell him that we're going live. But he is a huge Jets fan. He's just like that guy. They do a thing every year. Smart Tax. They do a thing. They get tickets to the Jet game, and people come. They put a nice spread out. But anyway, his partner Matt is just the biggest Jet fan I've ever seen. He had a really, really smart thing about why Aaron Rodgers. He wants them, but why he probably won't. And he just broke down the whole tax structure with, if you play in 30 different cities or whatever it may be, and how people really do get killed with the taxes when they play in a different city. Yep. But that's what he's saying. When you think people, I guess when you talk to somebody who's got a money, idea about it, they're going to really break it down and see, if they play somewhere where the taxes, do you go to Florida because you're making $25 million more over a certain amount of time? I don't know. Or how much money is just, is $50 million or $60 million? What's the difference? Oh, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it gets even more complicated because when the guys live in Florida, they play in New York, so you're only living in New York 100 days a year, and you're basically in Florida the other days or playing on the road and stuff. So it really comes down to where is the person working, and stuff. So if you're only playing in New York 81 days, or for NBA, it's 40 days a year playing in New York, basically, So I don't know how that works and stuff. I mean, leave it to us nerdy accountants, Rich, to come up with that it's about taxes where a player wants to play, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just go where you're going to win. I mean, when you're jumping up into the multi-millions of dollars, well, whatever. I guess it's different. More money, more problems. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. So, Rich, I'm watching this game. It's a halftime, and total points scored 195 points. So we're well on that way to almost 400 points in this game.
That's what I mean. I'm not hating on the game here. We got a half an ear on it. It's we're kind of watching. It's a lot of fun. Kind of that's why I compared it to the Pro Bowl. These guys are having fun. They want to go out to the clubs and release some steam to it. Because listen, I'm breaking their balls about load management. I don't think they need it, but those guys do play hard every night. They're running up and down the court. You remember Airplane?
Yes.
When Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the pilot in Airplane, and the kid was bothering him up in the front thing, and he says to him, "Listen, kid, you tell your dad to run up and down the court for 48 minutes a night for 30 years, blah blah blah." And he's kind of right. It's a hard sport on your body.
Yeah, I could just see the sequel of Airplane coming out, Airplane 2, with LeBron sitting in the cockpit and telling his, or some other player saying, "Yeah, I run up and down that court 20 minutes a night." Right? Kareem says 48 minutes, right?
You tell your dad to run up and down the court 23 minutes, 14 games a year.
That, you know what though? One of my favorite movies of all time, Airplane. I loved it, you know. And then you know what? You watch as a kid, then you watch it like maybe 10 years later, and you, oh wow, that's what that means now and stuff. You know, you're like laughing at stuff with remember the automatic pilot and stuff. You know, she's blowing it up and stuff.
Yeah, very funny.
They don't make movies like that. And good stuff though. Good stuff, Rich. Right?
You know what I wanted to I just want to touch on briefly. I'm sorry I didn't go over with you in the beginning, but it's just I want to touch on it briefly, just because we're getting to that time of year. I was going over the top 25 in the NCAA because we're gonna have a tournament coming up soon.
Yes.
So I was going over the Houston's killing it this year, man. I mean, they're playing. You know, Houston's playing well this year. A lot of these. You know, for lack of a better term, you know, a lot of people, you know, usually do their brackets and, you know, they know the usual suspects like the North Carolinas and the Arizonas and the Gonzagas and teams like that. But you're looking at teams like Alabama, Houston, Purdue, you know, UCLA. These are the top four right now. And, you know, it's not the North Carolinas and the Kansas and the Kentuckys. And although they are playing very, very well this year, and I'm sure they're set up perfectly to have a run in the NCAA tournament, but I mean, you're looking at this kid. His name escapes me. Marcus something. I think he's the point guard for Houston. This kid is unstoppable, dude. I was watching some video on him today. Fast. I mean, he's carrying that Houston team. I mean, you know, they're going to make a run in the Final Four this year.
Yeah, isn't it kind of weird to see Alabama number one in basketball, Rich? Where in football they weren't number one this year. It's weird, right?
Yeah, you don't even think about that. Yeah, you're right. You're like, you stupid football players aren't doing it. Let's go. We got to get the basketball players. Stop basketball players now. Make them the number one program in the country. Yeah, Alabama. It's really weird to see them at the top.
And I see UConn, too, is making a run. The men's team is looking pretty good this year. And Gonzaga's dropped. Gonzaga's like not even the top 10 anymore. So that was a school that every year they would show up in the top 10, you know, even going for the championships and stuff like that. But, yeah, you know, as we head into March Madness, Rich, you know, this is where the boys get separated from the men get separated from the boys, basically. So, yeah, we still got about a month left until the tournament starts. I guess it starts around this time, around St. Patrick's Day or something, a month from now, but all these conference tournaments and stuff is going to be interesting to watch. A good time of the year to be a sports fan, Rich. And also we got the World Baseball Classic, and we got preseason baseball this weekend, the 25th, the Yankees and the Phillies. And I'm sure the Mets will be on this weekend, too, with their new announcer re-signed, Keith Hernandez, which was a good move, huh?
Yeah, whatever. Keith definitely had beef with the Wilpons. And we all hated the Wilpons. We all love Keith. You know, Keith never made $1 million working for the Wilpons as an announcer.
That's crazy. And, you know, I didn't realize the Wilpons were still involved with SNY until Ben told me that the Wilpons had the strings to pull on Keith Hernandez. That's pretty wild, right? I thought that Uncle Stevie would have got the full package, basically.
Yeah. You know what? I'm sorry. I just want to go back to the NCAA for a second.
Yeah, sure.
I'm curious usually, like, you know, to see. I look at like the players that, you know, are going to be drafted next year. Then you look at the players that are kind of dominating their league right now, you know, and why their teams are doing so good. Like, you got the top 5 players right now in college basketball. You know, you got Drew Timme from Gonzaga. You got a couple other guys, but you know, you always look at the teams that, you know, they may not be right now. It's like they're the 4th or 5th best, but then you look at guys that are going to be drafted and how high they're going to be drafted. I mean, they got this guy. I don't know if you been paying any attention. You see this kid they got over in Kentucky. This kid Oscar Tisbawe, whatever his name is. I can't pronounce his last name. And they got the kid Armando Bascot on North Carolina. Yo, these two guys. This guy Tishabe, whatever his name is, from Kentucky. Yo, 25 double-doubles last year, averaging 18 points a game and 15 rebounds a game. What does he have? What is it? He's 6'9", 225. Like I said, he had 25 double-doubles last year. He had 5 games where he had more than 20 rebounds and 3 games where he had more than 25 rebounds, dude.
Wow.
I mean, this is when you look at like those college players and you see, yeah, you know, he's a nice player. Drew Timme, he's a good college player. But that's a player you look at like, wow, that kid's going to make a difference in the NBA. He is already a man.
Where does he go? Kentucky, Rich?
Kentucky center for. He's a senior now. He goes to Kentucky. He's not even a center. He's a forward.
Wow. And he's going to be a first-round draft pick, you think?
Oh, absolutely. This kid's going to be a first. You know, I haven't really looked, you know, but he'll be a top 5 pick. He's by far one of the most dominating players, you know, in the middle right now in the NCAA. I'm sorry, I just wanted to bring that up a second.
Yeah, they're not even good that year, Kentucky. They're not even in the top 25, I don't think, Kentucky. I think they lost about 9 or 10 games or something. I don't even see them ranked.
Yeah, but I'm looking at somebody's team. You know, they're going to be like, "Hey, listen, it's going to North Carolina State. You guys are good, but Kentucky needs to be there."
Yeah, they go by the school's name sometimes, on that bubble, the bubble list, basically, so.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, bracketology, it's a science.
Yes. So I know you wanted to. I know you wanted to touch on baseball. We got some time left here. You want to touch on the MLB? We got our favorite time of the year coming up. We got the crack of the bat, the ball hitting the leather glove. We got the smell of the grass, the clay. Beer here. We got baseball season coming up really soon. Our favorite time of year.
Yeah, definitely. And before we get started, Rich, I just want to give our condolences out to Tim McCarver and his family. McCarver passed away at 81 years old. He played 21 seasons, 12 with the Cardinals, 1,937 games, including postseason behind the dish, 11,700 innings caught, and he played over 4 decades. He did play 1 year in the 50s, so one of the rare players that played over 4 decades. Two-time All-Star, finished second in the MVP voting to his teammate Orlando Cepeda in 1967. Starting catcher on the 1964 and 67 Cardinals World Series champs. He played in 6 postseasons, 3 with the Cardinals, 3 with the Phillies. In 1966, he led the National League in triples, the only catcher in history to lead their league in triples. In 1964, in the World Series versus the Yankees in Game 3, he had a big 3-run homer in the top of the 10th inning to give the Cardinals a 5-2 win. And in Game 7, he stole home in the 4th inning, which led to the Cardinals to win the World Series and give the Cardinals their first World Series in 18 years. He hit .478 in that series in 1964. He caught all of 9 Bob Gibson's World Series starts.
You stole my thunder. I was going to already call it. Yeah, I was going to say, and he had a deal with Bob Gibson for most of his career.
Yeah.
Kudos for that.
Yeah, right. 9 World Series starts. Gibson won 7 out of 9 with a 1.89 ERA. And then game 1. Yeah, go ahead, Rich. What was that?
Guy, amazing. Bob Gibson. Every time you bring the guy's name up, man, that's a guy I love. I wish he's one of those guys, man. You think of like a couple of guys that you never saw play, and the guys that you just want to just watch one of their. I mean, he's a guy, man. I would love to watch him throw a complete game shutout and just maul people for 9 innings. I would love that shit, man.
Yeah, 1968 World Series Game 1, Gibson struck out 17, pitched a 5-hit shutout for beat the Tigers. Crazy, right? The Tigers won the World Series, but Bob Gibson just dominated them. And of course, Tim McCarver caught Steve Carlton from 1976 to 79. Carlton had a 72 and a 77 and 41 record with McCarver behind the plate. And of course, McCarver went up to the broadcast booth in 1980 with the Phillies, worked with legends Harry Kalas and Rich Ashburn, and then he went to the Mets for 15 years, as you know, and then to the Yankees for a couple of years, went to the Giants for a couple, wrapped it up, worked on the network, came back to the Cardinals in 2014, worked till 2019. His doctors advised him not to work 2020 because of COVID, and he had some heart issues, and yeah, he passed away from heart failure a couple of days ago. But another a legendary Hall of Famer, Tim McCarver, rest in peace.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's a big one. Yeah, that's the voice of my age group. Listen to the Mets. Like that's his voice. It resonates with me. Just listening to the Met games back in the 80s.
Yeah, he had his controversies too. We all have controversies, say the wrong things, but living legend, Tim McCarver in the broadcast booth and behind the dish, basically. Yeah, but it's good seeing the guys back in spring training, Rich. A lot of Florida highlights coming this week, and I saw this Cody, the Japanese guy, Senga was having a little trouble with the pitcher's mound, they said,
You know what's funny? Aiden brought up a good point to me today because this is again his favorite time of year too.
Mm-hmm.
Being the baseball fan that he is, he brought up a good point today. When you're watching these games and you're watching these inter-squad matchups, would you rather see Kodai Senga striking out Pete Alonso with a good ghost pitch, or would you rather see Pete Alonso taking him deep? These are two guys that are going to do big things. So that leads me to believe that Senga needs a little help, or Alonso needs a little help. And when you're watching these guys go at it, you're looking at it from that perspective of the pitcher got the hitter or the hitter got the pitcher. Early on in spring training, do you catch on to those kind of things, or you just let it be?
Wow, that's pretty. I never thought of that, Rich. That's a really good. Wow. I don't know. We'll rather see Senga do that ghost pitch against Alonso, or Alonso take one 500 feet against him in a inter-squad game.
I would rather see Alonso take him 500 feet on a bomb, just because he's the pitcher and he's going to figure it out. I want him to see like people where they're hitting it or how they're hitting it, or because I think early on, if you're a pitcher and you're supposed to have this great pitch, the ghost, whatever it is, pitch, and people are taking you deep, you have time to tweak it if you need to, you know what I mean? Whereas if you're a hitter, I guess you have time to tweak you tweak your swing too. But I think that the pitcher has to work harder to tweak their pitch as opposed to a hitter going against the pitcher. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did see that Carlos Rodon was racking down the Yankee hitters too with his pitches too. So I guess I'm happy to see that, because I guess that shows you that the pitcher's on his game, right?
Yeah, and the hitters are going to come around. You know what I mean? The hitters are just they're kind of waking up, and they've been Pete Alonso. Actually, Pete Alonso slimmed down. He's a bad example, but I'm like, a lot of these big guys have been eating burgers for the last 4 months. And they're all a little bit out of shape. They come swinging the bat. I mean, I was going to even use Vogelback as an example, but I saw him. He slimmed down a lot too. Hope these guys are going to be hitting home runs for the Mets. Maybe Pete Alonso slimming down, hit 10 less home runs, but he'll win the batting title, batting 360. You never know.
Steal 30 bases, right?
No, why not? They're saying O'Neal Cruz is on his way for a 30-30 season. So
and don't forget, what's his name out in Seattle, Rodriguez, right? Coming back for his sophomore season. I can't wait to see what he does this year, basically. I think he'll sophomore jinx, I don't think will be with him. He's a star in the making, basically.
Exactly. We started this discussion earlier. We didn't bring it up yet, but Machado wants $400 million, dude.
Yeah.
Now let's look at it comparatively. Let's look at prospectively, because prospectively, who's a better third baseman than him right now in the league? I mean, I pulled up Nolan.
Yeah, I said Nolan Arenado. He's a vacuum cleaner at third base.
All right. So now, would you say that after Nolan Arenado and Machado, I mean, there's good players, I'm not saying, but do you think there's anybody close that even in the same, Bregman's a good third baseman, but he doesn't hit like those guys. You got your different third basemen, but no one really hits and fields at the same time, I guess, at third base the way those two guys do, right?
Yeah, I want to see Machado at Yankee Stadium, Rich. They missed the boat on him a couple of years ago. I think if they either went after Bryce Harper or Manny Machado, they would have been better than they are right now. Machado's deadly. I mean, I've never seen a guy hit a ball so hard than he does, and he plays a great defense too. I think Arenado, great offense too, but I think Machado, I think he's deadlier with the bat than Arenado. I don't know what you think about that.
But Eric, I mean, look, if we're looking at it from a pure numbers perspective, I mean, that's all we really have to compare players at this time. I was like, but if you look at Arenado and look, they both what is it? Machado's 2 years older than Arenado, mm-hmm. But they've both literally been in the league for the same exact year.
Yep.
Okay, now Machado wants another 10 years, $400 million. Arenado just opted in for 5 years, 144, added on to his contract with the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. Now, whatever. I'm not just saying that's where their heads are at. I'm just talking about, where their heads at. Machado wants the money, and Arenado's like, you know what, I'm opted in. Give me my 5 years. But Machado, 283 home runs. Okay, Arenado, 300 home runs.
Yep.
1,600 hits for Machado, 1,520 for Arenado. 853 RBIs for Machado, 970 for Arenado. Batting average, 282 Machado, 289 for Arenado. Their fielding percentages for both of them are literally just through the roof. You know what I mean? It's not like, you can't look at them and say one's a better fielder than the other, because they both field their position on such a high level. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at two players that are, that are very similar and are very high level players. And if you want to look at it that way, I guess maybe, Machado does have a right to say that he wants $400 million.
But, Rich, we could take a step further, too, that Arenado played in Colorado, where it's a hitter's ballpark. But don't forget Machado played, though. Machado played in Baltimore, and they just moved the fences out this past season in left field. So that was a place where you can hit home runs, too. So you can't even make a comparison with the two, because both played in basically, home run hitting ballparks.
I really don't like that. I don't like that excuse, like taking it, sliding a guy like Larry Walker or something. You know what I mean? Who was deadly with the bat, but he played in Colorado.
Yep.
Or was it Todd Helton?
Yeah.
Because he played in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know what? Listen, Colorado had a baseball team, right? They have a stadium.
Yep.
That's where they play the baseball games. And listen, I know it's not any excuse or whatever that Daniel Murphy almost won the batting title the year after he left the Mets and he went to Colorado. But you know what? That's where they play the baseball games. But Arenado's still playing. He's still playing high level baseball in St. Louis. and he's out of Colorado. So I guess maybe you could pad your stats by playing in Colorado, but it's still a Major League Baseball stadium, and they play games there. And Arenado's a pretty damn good baseball player.
Yeah, I remember too when DJ LeMahieu came to the Yankees from Denver, from the Rockies. People were telling me, my friends and stuff, oh, don't forget he played in Colorado. He's a Yankee stadium. You know what? He did pretty damn well, Rich. And I remember you telling me he's a great hitter too a couple of years ago. You would love for him to get. He's had a couple with the injuries now and stuff, but I think he's coming back healthy this year, and we'll see what happens. But that first year he had with the Yankees, he showed no regression that he played in Colorado coming to the Bronx, basically.
No, not at all. And what's the difference? I mean, the thin air, I guess. Okay, so maybe you'll hit more home runs, but you're still a baseball player who has to, he has to adjust to where they're playing. They have to adjust to strike zones. They have to adjust to weather. They have to adjust to field conditions. They have to adjust to a lot of things. And adjusting to a field condition of, all right, listen, maybe you're a player like, that doesn't hit too many home runs, and maybe he gets excited to be in Colorado because maybe this might be the night where I hit my 10th home run. But you know what, though? Other than that, though, you're a home run hitter. Doesn't think you spray it around the field. Or you go and you hit the home run. It's where you play the game, Don't slide any of these guys because they played in Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, it's a baseball city, like we said. Baseball players are going to hit. If that was the case, if there was a home field advantage, you would see the Rockies 81-0, 81-0. But that's not the case, as we know how the Rockies have been the past couple of years. But yeah, it's like I said, I looked at the stats, and they're pretty much the same third baseman, Arenado and Machado. Machado, sometimes is a little more aggressive than Arenado. You hear him, he wants to be a team leader and stuff. Look how he chewed out Francisco Tatis. He's a player, Machado, I think, and Arenado, nice, playing in Middle America and stuff, but I think Machado wants to play on the East Coast. That's what I want. That's what I think. Back to the East Coast.
Well, listen, he probably does. He's going to get a lot of money, and he is an unbelievable talent. I mean, the guy is just, he's just one of those guys. Like, he's a vacuum at third. I mean, he was a shortstop. He's a shortstop third baseman. He's just one of those guys that gets out there and plays defenses. And if you want to complain about the money, complain about the money. If you're not going to complain about the money, you know what? Give him Uncle Stevie. Give him $400 million. Let Uncle Stevie give him the $400 million, because you know why? Because Uncle Stevie, I hate calling him that. I'm not even going to call him that anymore, because I really do hate calling him Uncle Stevie when Met fans call him Uncle Stevie. I'm just going to get a different name here. But the owner of my New York Mets, Steve Cohen, said something a couple of weeks ago that basically said, you know what, shut up about me spending. You know what, I'm putting money back into the league, my luxury tax. I'm a billionaire. You know what, though, if I want to spend money, I'm going to spend money. I'm spending it smart. You know what, though, who knows? Maybe he goes out and gets Manny Machado. You know what I mean? It's not going to – I wouldn't put it past them. And, again, I don't care if anybody says that the Mets right now, or they're buying their players, and even if they win a World Series and they say we're buying the players, I don't care. I just want to be on that side of – I want to be the evil empire. I want to be the bully. I want Steve Cohen to be the new Darth Vader. You know what I mean? I want my Mets to to be that team. So whatever, man. Just keep spending money, Uncle Stevie. I hate that name. Ugh, God.
Rich, we're getting close to the bewitching hour of our podcast and stuff, but I just had one thing to tell. I read one, this halftime at the NBA All-Star Game is ridiculous, like longer than the Super Bowl halftime. But one more thing about baseball. What is failure for Aaron Judge coming off a 62 home run season? I mean, we know he's not going to hit 62 home runs again, right? I mean, how are the Yankee fans going to react if he only hits 40 or 45 home runs? I mean, that's what I'm worried about, Rich. The fans and how they take this, because we know you New York fans, they will boo the hell out of you. I mean, and we know he's not going to hit 62 home runs.
How do you think the Yankee fans are going to react when Aaron Judge has 10 home runs going into June?
I mean, maybe not, but still.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's the expectation level he set for himself as hitting all those home runs, which is fine. Whatever. There's got to be expectations. But on the Yankee fan, it's almost like in my job. Like, you don't want to sometimes, like, you really, it's almost like, you really perform at a high level. And then, like, you do extra something, and then the boss or the person expects that all the time. So listen, Aaron Judge, money wise, you're expected to hit 64 home runs this year. And the rest of that, I guess, in an owner's eyes, it's not a failure. I mean, even in the fans, it's not a failure. But you know what, though? You set that bar so high that if you have 10 home runs going into June, your Yankee fans are going to be chirping, oh, we gave him all that money. No, we didn't give him all that money. The owner of your baseball team gave him all that money. So just let the guy perform. But there's going to be fans all over the place. Look at fans of my baseball team. Verlander. If he goes 0-4 and he's got like 15 strikeouts going into June, it's like, where did our money go? So it could go either way. You know what I mean?
Yep, sure, no doubt. Yeah, I'm just 10 home runs June. Maybe if he has 60 RBIs, 10 home runs, and he's batting over 300, maybe it's the fans accept that, right?
Okay, yeah. Listen, I'm pulling for the guy. You know me. I'm pulling for Aaron Judge. I'm glad he got his money. I'm glad he didn't go nowhere, and I'm glad him and Pete are going to be going back and forth, vying for the kingship of New York this year.
And I will be rooting for Pete Alonso in the World Baseball Classic. Go USA. We'll be talking about that in the upcoming weeks, Rich, because that starts on March 8th.
Definitely, yes. We'll definitely want to talk about that too. All righty, we're coming up on our 2-hour mark here. Another great show, dude.
Yeah, awesome, right? I'm gonna go take a nap and watch the second half because this is the longest halftime ever. There's just guys standing around. I just don't get it. You would think Rihanna would have been out there singing or something like that at the NBA All-Star game at halftime.
Yeah. I don't get it either. All right, my friend. Well, enjoy your President's Day off tomorrow.
Yep, thank you. We will speak as we plan for this Fishkill Rec broadcast assignment. And we'll take it to episode 33 next week, Rich.
Yeah, absolutely. Episode 33 next week. And listen, if you guys are hearing this broadcast right now, get the word out. March 18th, come on down to Fishkill Rec and listen to us call the games and have a little fun down there with all the kids from the area.
Who knows, Rich? Maybe sometime we'll be doing weddings, bar mitzvahs, christenings, confirmations, you name it, right?
There's no ceiling for our talent level, E. You know that. There's no ceiling for that. You never know where we're going to be a year from now. All right, my friend. Listen, enjoy your day off tomorrow. Enjoy your President's Day, and we're out of here.
Yeah, thanks, Murph. Have a good one, everyone, and enjoy those Shamrock Shakes tomorrow.
All right. Make sure I get my wife one. She loves those things.
Take care, Murph.